Why is this not... Okay, now they can hear my microphone at least. So that's at least something. Can they hear you?
I don't know whether they can or not, but like hopefully they should be able to.
They can, but I need to change your volume in my mixer here.
Ready then?
Keep talking. I need you to say something.
Talking. Yeah. Hang on a second.
Your inconsistent volume is not making this easy.
Okay. Let me sort something out. Let me sort something.
It's on my end. I'm fixing it in Beacon. So. All right. Well, so anyways, for those that are now able to hear us,
I guess welcome.
yes, welcome everybody. We've got a pretty good show today. We're gonna do the pre-show, of course, as per normal. showing it's working, but it's not. Okay. Okay. I think we got sound back. Let me change Discord back over so that the stream can hear you.
Maybe, maybe.
All right. I'm so
Oh, there we go.
for those that don't know, I'm using Beacon's software, and I'm actually receiving. They're very Johnny on the spot with support when you tell them, "Hey, I've got a live stream going on," and my mic and full audio like setup is borked, like to
Yeah,
say the
just hard
least.
crashed.
Uh, so I have um all right. Um, sorry, I'm gonna comply with one of the things that they're trying to get me to do here. Um,
Don't worry, man. It's fine.
which means I need to close out of Beacon again, which I'm sure everybody is gonna enjoy losing audio for a minute again here. Apologies, but
Yeah, well.
all right. Um, stream still should be able to hear us. I see the audience mix showing sound.
Yep, yep. It's coming through.
Awesome. All right. So, we're gonna continue per normal. Of course, once I solve the camera problem, the audio equipment's gotta jack itself up just to be even everything out. Can't possibly expect it all to work together. That would be too easy. Um,
Oh,
so, welcome everybody. I apologize for the kind of crap start to things here. It's really not a lot we could really do about it. Um, you know,
no worries, dude.
yeah, kind of is what it is. I've been having a couple of challenges with the Beacon software. I do want to say thank you to their support team. They've rapidly delivered me a different version. Uh, if it crashes again, it's reporting a log file directly to them on what's happening. So, um,
Well, hopefully that sorts that out. Like
yeah,
you and your setup will be a treasure trove for them in terms of like like finding bugs and fixing bugs. I see my
uh,
my pre-show list of stuff didn't actually have any like massive issues with Beacon mic
yeah.
on it.
Um,
So
so
we're
like I gotta give them a lot of credit. Like they're doing some stuff that like nobody else has done. They're like supposedly making my life easier. Their support team is at least like on the spot to say like
yeah, yeah.
I gotta give them that like 100%. I'm supportive of that. Um, and up until recently, it's been very good. But I think the last patch had a something challenging with it.
A few
Um,
things.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that said, we have a whole pre-show for you guys. A whole bunch of topics. There's a ton of
Well,
interesting
yeah,
things happening in the world of tech.
things have happened in tech and gaming. Yeah. Um, I don't know. It's like kind of like like yeah. It's that. even though the list is like numbered, it's basically a menagerie. Like I don't really care like as to what you want to go with. But yeah,
Well, so let's hit it off with the Bungie sued a guy.
oh,
And
Bungie
I think
sued a
for the
guy.
the
Yeah,
first time, I think I'm happy that a gaming company sued a
an individual.
YouTuber. Uh, and
Yeah,
like normally
this
there's an element of like the YouTubers should stick together, and but frankly, this guy deserved it. Um,
yeah, normally it's like, normally it's like the corporate, uh, the corpos are basically being, shitlers to, some, content creator that, doesn't deserve it kind of thing. But like this time, he fucking deserved it.
so let's put some context on this.
Yep.
The individual in question uh, had his channel copyright striked by the middle management company that's hired in to basically deal with copyright issues for Bungie.
Yeah.
Um, Rightfully so. Basically, he had posted up a bunch of the soundtrack that was monetized. Obviously, like if you're just posting the soundtrack with no additional effort, then like Bungie wants the money for creating the music. They're not just going to give you that,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
fair. Like I don't think anybody out there is saying that like you should be able to monetize uh game soundtracks as an individual under any kind of copyright where you should get the money. It should very much go to the developer. Like
Oh,
you know.
totally.
So
Yeah.
the individual gets upset with this and you know goes out on kind of a crusade of sorts in the most misguided way possible. And all of a sudden, a bunch of others are getting strikes by what appears to be this middle management company that Bungie brings in to deal with their copyright stuff, with a very similar looking handle and all of that to the official one. However, it eventually came forward that despite the fact that it looked legitimate, it was not. And Bungie found this out because it took them much longer and a subpoena in order to actually be able to get YouTube to
Give
allow them to
information.
claim their original copyright,
Yeah.
because there is no method in which an original copyright owner can dispute the copyright claims a on
On a
YouTube.
bogus account. Yeah, on a bogus
So
account on YouTube. It's ridiculous.
what's worse is the original individual who had, kind of become a community focal point for, the fight to try and bring down this middle management company that was, bringing down all these YouTubers. Um, it was found out through YouTube, confirming it, that the individual falsified falsified a number of accounts and was claiming them himself and making it look like it was that company, all
Yeah.
coming from his address.
Yeah. All coming from addresses that had his IP like
Yes.
registered as basically being, the
Yeah.
originator of those accounts essentially.
Basically, if you're going to do something internet related against an internet related company, you should probably like know a thing or two about how to cover your tracks on the internet. Um that
And
no,
now for a
not
word
saying
from
you
our
should
sponsor,
do that.
NordVPN.
Yeah.
I'm only joking.
This is where we would put a NordVPN sponsor if NordVPN were to contact us. Um, you
Although
know,
I'm fairly certain that they would not want their servers to be used for criminal activity.
do not use a
Just saying.
VPN for nefarious reasons. That is illegal. uh, so,
Oh,
yeah. So basically,
yeah.
the YouTuber getting, getting what should come to him. He got sued, and what was the actual settlement on that? They
It was 7.6 million US dollars.
yeah, that's a kick in the nuts right there.
It hasn't been settled yet, but
Um,
they're Bungie's on the warpath
yeah,
for it.
and rightfully so. Like, frankly, they own the copyright. They should, be more than able to do that. And for the damages that he caused by riling up the community and potential lost sales, they easily have a claim for $7 million. Whether the
Yeah, it's
YouTuber in question
apparently
has $7 million is a whole different question.
that's
Um,
another thing. Like, it's apparently $150,000 dollars for each of the works that were implicated in the DMCA takedowns. So yeah.
as a special note, um, one of the reasons, and not saying that we're doing anything nefarious in the background, but one of the reasons that we've created an LLC to house our stream is to prevent legal liability from falling on me or McLeod individually, uh, thus protecting our personal assets in case the company were to have any major missteps, or in the future when we start hiring people, if the company were to have any employees have any major missteps, the liability wouldn't fall on our personal assets. So, for instance, if we got sued for $7 million, we're fucked. But the reality
Well,
is, based
yeah.
currently, because we have an active LLC, um, we would actually be liable for what's in the accounts, and
For the LLC.
assets that the LLC owns, which
Yeah.
at the moment is fuck all. That was a moment
Well,
to talk about
I'll
our Lord and
yeah.
Savior Jeff Bezos and his ability to give us Prime subscriptions. If you happen to have any, we'll be more than happy to take one.
Oh
Oh,
god.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
you had to do that, did you? You had to
it
do
has
that.
to be done. It has to be done.
Well, talking about Twitch, right? Talking
Yeah.
about Bezos, talking about Twitch, talking about Twitch, Twitch Prime, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, apparently there's a new setup or a new kind of like layout for categories now, or at least there is a new layout for categories for some people.
Yes.
Which I've seen in some, some kind of like news articles, some tech articles, as well as some videos from some content creators. And it's a good thing apparently, like because apparently the what we're doing, what Twitch are doing now is kind of allowing a bit better discovery, or at least a feature that allows streamers to be discovered a little bit easier by people just browsing the
Yes.
categories, right? Um,
Although it also
one of
comes with some things that I'm not a huge fan of. For
oh
instance, autoplay. Um, any site that you go to that automatically starts
yeah,
playing video the second you load in, like unless you're like you just clicked into the channel, like, hey, obviously I want to listen to the channel, like start playing the video, or like YouTube,
mm,
start playing the video. Because I clicked on it to play the video. If I'm surfing the channel categories, I don't necessarily want to watch what's going on. Um,
yeah.
I think that could be valuable, depending on what's being recommended. I also think that there's going to be
Well,
some issues with the very loud audio on trying to bounce between streams.
yeah, that is always an issue. Like that is always an issue when it comes to sort of streamers trying to get to like a good like a good broadcast kind of level. Technically, there are actually specific specific, well, not regulations as such, but like specifications for broadcast audio, like being at a certain level and being within a certain kind of, what's called loudness units, as it were. But like, I would not expect like your average streamer to know anything about that whatsoever, and expect them to know anything about that like is a bit much, to be completely honest. So yeah. Somehow I kind of feel like if Twitch wants to do this really really well, they want to be able to try like figure out some kind of system that normalizes that audio as you're going through between streams. Um, obviously setting a particular baseline and then, pumping, streams up to that level or, reducing them down to a particular level just to make sure that like, yeah, people aren't having their like, ears blown out by a stream as they're browsing a category. Um,
Mhm.
but then again, I haven't actually had a chance to, or I not have a chance, but like I've tried to, get that system sort of, to proc on my Twitch, but like it hasn't so far. So I haven't had the opportunity to check it out, as it were. I've seen a couple of uh, videos of it, sort of thing. So but don't I don't know whether they just autoplay or whether it like it's not playing anything until you actually click on something. But I don't know. Have you
I have
experienced it
not.
at all?
Despite the fact that I stream a decent amount, I don't watch a lot of streams. Um, I will catch streams that people send to me as like oftentimes people will self promote streams in our Discord, which is encouraged. Like, we've got an audience of about 1,000 people in our Discord. Please feel free to promote your streams in there. Like, I
Yeah,
think we have a
you're
channel
welcome to.
specifically for that.
Yeah.
Um,
And not just for streams, but also for like videos. Like,
yeah.
if
Oh
you're
yeah.
out there creating videos on YouTube and you want like you want to add a little bit more catchment to it, like and then chuck it in there. Like it's a self promotion channel, and just just have at it.
It's literally there so that you guys can showcase your content to just a collected
hmm
audience. Feel free. That's literally what it's there for. So,
What I
uh,
would recommend is letting people know, not just chucking the URL into there, but like letting people know, maybe what
yeah,
it is. Like, say if it's a stream, like what it is you're doing, and that kind of thing.
yeah.
Um, would be better than just throwing a single URL into it. So yeah,
You always want to make sure people know what they're clicking into. So, like, if you're streaming New World, then
let them know.
make sure it says, "Hey, streaming New World, come check it out." Here's what I'm going to be doing in game or something. It
Yeah,
should help other people find you, and potentially be interested um, in that. You know,
yeah, yeah. If people are kind of like, if people are sort of there, kind of thinking like to themselves, like, oh, I should really get into like crafting in some way, shape, or form, but like, oh, I don't know, what would be a good way of kind of getting into it? Like, I could look at videos like endlessly on YouTube and stuff like that, but like maybe getting in touch with, maybe having a conversation, or maybe like talking to somebody who knows crafting, might be a good idea. And if like you've chucked that the URL to your live stream of New World and your crafting, like just the URL is not going to tell anybody what you're doing. But if you chuck in there that like you're going to be doing some crafting and some interesting kind of crafting and a an AMA about crafting, then like people may
yeah,
see it and be like, ah, yeah, that's the guy. I should go check that out. So
yeah, it can't hurt. I know
it helps.
we've got at least one guy who does like war coverage. Uh,
hmm
he's normally he normally promotes in there and probably gets him a few at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Definitely
uh,
check it out, as well as, yeah, obviously,
yeah,
it's on our Discord, so, and our Discord has a whole bunch of other stuff on it, so you should definitely check that out. But as for other kind of things, like other things going on in like this week, like uh um oh, there's a Twitch event. Talking of Twitch, there's gonna be like a Blizzard kind of a Twitch event apparently. It's gotten a little bit of kind of a little bit of controversy because it's a support a streamer Twitch event, except the streamers that basically Blizzard are supporting in this Twitch event are, you know, streamers who
don't
really
need it.
don't need it. They really don't need it at all. Like, I don't think I really don't
This
think
is gonna get us a
Asmongold
hot take
requires
right
it.
here.
I don't
Yeah,
think Asmongold needs like Blizzard's support on Twitch or XQC. Like, you
yeah,
know, it's just I kind of feel like those guys have already kind of there.
yeah.
Although technically, yeah, there it is a list of
The
150
streamers
streamers,
listed.
but like,
Uh, the biggest channels among them are XQC, Asmongold, Aceagull, T Pain. Like, we're not
those
talking
sorts of
about
dudes.
small starting streamers.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah. Amon, Kefril, that kind of these sorts of guys, right?
to
You
be
know,
fair, it does appear to be a list of about 150 streamers. Um, so
yeah, yeah.
not all of them obviously are massive streamers,
But
but
it, it's
yeah.
it's it is it is what you would normally expect from a big corporation, basically putting a bunch of money into the pockets of the people with the biggest um audiences to make
Mhm.
the largest impact on regarding their products, right? That's essentially what it is.
Yep.
Except instead of kind of like just doing it as a an event like any other normal kind of company would do an event, like say a launch of a game or something like that, right? And it is the launch of Overwatch 2, right? So it is the launch of Overwatch 2, but instead of being just being the Overwatch 2 launch, they decide to call it support a streamer event. And it's like, it's kind of not really supporting the streamers who really require supporting.
Yeah.
So, another classic example of Blizzard basically being a bit tone deaf.
Do we want to spill probably the dirty secrets about the industry at this point?
I
I
mean,
think
we're
we should
talking about
I think we
Blizzard
should
right
blow
now,
the
so
well, we're gonna blow the top off this because I'm gonna take a bet um that
okay.
every single individual listed on here,
Hmm.
all 150 of them, most likely have signed a contract to do this. Um,
Oh yeah, I'm fairly
they'll be
certain.
running sponsored streams, etc. Like, functionally speaking, they're already receiving what would account for pretty significant support from Bungie, um,
For Blizzard,
or Blizzard, my bad. Um,
yeah, no worries.
in order to participate in this, because
Yeah,
the stuff like this. You don't make a list like this just looking at it. There's no, you're not looking at average streamers. You're looking at the big names. You know, this is a list of people who most likely signed a contract for this. Um, for some of them, probably a comical amount of money because people don't understand like quite what advertising budgets look like. I'm not going to talk about exact numbers because that's just not how this works. Um,
mm,
but the reality here is that this is you're very much a secondary support mechanism to them. I'm sure they're gonna get something for everybody who redeems codes and whatever, but
so it's a little bit
they're
more.
getting a fee to play the game as is,
It,
like being real.
it's a tiny bit more insidious than this though, because like they basically they have a drop going, right? I don't know how Twitch and Blizzard kind of came to the conclusion that this was a good idea, but basically there's a particular kind of skin that you get based on and essentially what you have to do is you have to donate 3 total subs to any of the Twitch channels that are in this kind of 150. And once you do that, Twitch will send you a code, or Twitch will kind of like message you a code of some form that you redeem for a particular skin on BattleNet. Which to me is I don't know. I kind of feel like that's a little bit that's a little bit too kind of uh what's the word? What would be the word? Like, I don't know. It just feels off.
Yeah,
to me, you know?
yeah. Yeah, redemption codes can only be earned by purchasing 3 gift subscriptions to an eligible participating channel. That tells me eligible participating channel tells me there's a contract involved. Because that's
Hmm.
contract language right there. That is streaming Overwatch during the campaign period. That'll tell you the contract timeline. Uh, sorry,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to anybody out there who's like,
Why
who
is he
doesn't
talking all this
realize,
lingo?
that this is basically what I'm
This
saying
is very
here is
business-like.
everybody on this list, regardless if you give them any subs, is already making plenty of money
Yeah.
from whatever
Yeah, they are.
contract is signed here to participate in this.
Mhm.
So, hi Apollo, just wanted to go under there. Okay. Uh,
Yeah. Like,
130-pound dog
so
just decided he wanted to go sleep under my desk.
so there's a French Overwatch streamer, Gwendol, basically, who said, who was quoted in saying that the event absolutely ruined, her evening. I was so hyped for tomorrow, and they dropped this, and I was really shocked to see, the, list and the requirements. It's not support a streamer, it's support the streamers we choose because we said so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or don't get the skin,
Yeah, or don't get the
because
skin.
that's basically what you're doing is you pay for 3 subs and you're buying a skin,
Mhm.
which I
Yeah, yeah,
not a
it's
huge
it's
fan
a
of
weird
this. Like
one.
there's so
It's a
many
really
better
weird one.
ways. There's so many better ways to do this. Like if you really want to support streamers, you know, fucking like a retweet of their thing, them saying they're going live, you know, um for a small streamer, like nothing against Asmongold, because we've taken plenty of shit in the past for hitting Asmongold for things. Um,
Yeah, the funny thing is, like,
Nothing
the
against
oth
him,
yeah.
but him and his team do not need additional support. Like their
I mean,
standard, and I say
let them.
I'm not saying don't support Asmongold. Like don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
Like this isn't a super hot take. I'm saying that his team, through standard operations,
get
makes
the
plenty of
fuckload.
money.
Yeah, they get
You
plenty of
know,
money.
like
Like, they
they're
don't need
not
this
struggling.
additional shit.
You know,
And plus, like, it's also one of those things where, like, you know, those sorts of, those sorts of subs and stuff like that could go to, people who would appreciate it so much more, right?
yeah,
And I'm not even, the thing is, like, we're not even saying that, like, we're not even talking about this, with regards to, like, oh, I wish we were one of the 150. Like, we don't really, like, I don't play Overwatch. Like, I'm not really a fan of Blizzard stuff. Like, for on account of their business practices. And I choose specifically not to, play their stuff because, their business, although they have, made, great things in the past, wasn't really my cup of tea at the time. And, since then, their business practices have become shadier and shadier and more exploitative and abusive. And, to the point where I wouldn't even actually consider playing Overwatch or Overwatch 2, for example, or any of the other sort of Blizzard products, purely on a, you know, on principle, essentially. So it's not like we're coming at this from a, oh, we wish we were the 150, streamers that were in this event, and because we're not, we're salty. No, that's not. It's
yeah.
nothing to
Like
do with that.
we're in no way involved with Overwatch, so like that's not our pitch here. And
No,
I
no,
mean,
no.
like we back in the day, we both had a lot of positive things to say about, for instance, like the New World launch. Um, I felt like there was plenty of things that went right with that. I also felt that there was uh, a lot of incentive given to much larger streamers, but at the same time, like Amazon did a good job of not forgetting the small guy. And at the time, like, and I would say we still are the small guy. Um,
Yeah,
so
or comparatively speaking, yeah.
yeah,
The other kind of thing is like, and I think like some people, probably do wonder sometimes, like why we are still, conversing and talking about New World and that kind of thing. But like the thing is, when New World was kind of, being developed and kind of coming out, kind of thing. A lot of people were looking for, a good MMO kind of thing, and people were wondering if somebody was going to create the next new MMO, and like people got hyped for various different things, especially from sort of indie developers and that kind of thing, and those those um, that kind of hype was always like dashed on the rocks because invariably those indie companies did not have the depth in terms of like pockets in terms of finance to be able to spend enough time to be able to create something like decent as an MMO. Um, Either that or when if they did, they had to basically kind of ruin aspects of their game based on investors wanting money, wanting return on their investments and that kind of thing. So like when something like Amazon comes along or, Amazon Games comes along, and they're wanting to make an MMO, and you can see how hands off like Amazon as a corporate entity is in terms of trying to want their money back. Like, it's very rare that like the financial side of a business will go, okay, you guys can have an extra 2 years to carry on developing the game. It's okay. That's very rare from from investors wanting their money or wanting a return on their money. Because it's basically just you're sinking another 2 years of of investment money into that product. So it's so when Amazon came with New World, I kind of very much saw it, and I kind of still do see like it as being you know still a potential for for creating a comparably good MMO, MMORPG. It's just they're a fledgling company. This is pretty much their first like proper AAA title, and
mhm.
especially when it comes to MMOs and MMORPGs, like it's the hardest thing to get right. And obviously, because they're a fledgling company, they haven't got it right on the first try. But like they haven't just ditched it. They're trying to develop it. They're trying to augment it. They're trying to balance it and and iterate upon all the things that are in the game to bring it back to the glory that I think a lot of people hope that it is. But that takes time. And the nice thing is they don't have like investors breathing down their necks about it, and they don't have a publishing company trying to rinse the community of money in every single way. And I see those two things as extremely important when it comes to MMOs.
Oh yeah. Like I think
Yeah.
like one of the biggest challenges when you look at New World is that everybody expected like New World's gonna be this huge hit, like it's gonna be there's so much to it. There is a lot
Would
to
it
it,
be massive?
you know,
Yeah.
but like I think people misunderstood when they saw Amazon. They assumed, oh, it's a multi-trillion-dollar company, like it's gonna be the best thing ever because they've got all this support and all. But it's the same thing as a smaller studio. It's just the seed money came in differently. It doesn't mean that you have trillions of dollars worth of support and trillions of dollars of development money. You've got plenty of
Yeah.
development money, but you still have to build a studio. You still have to build a staff. You still have to build,
That stuff
a
has to come
customer
from somewhere.
support framework from scratch, which again is not a simple thing to deal with for one game, let alone to also deal with for Lost Ark. You know,
There's
a
there's
lot of
another
these
aspect
systems
of
are
this.
not like they're not things that get built in a day, and they're also not things that develop good standard operating procedures in a day. Like they're things
Yeah,
that take time.
there's another aspect, specifically like um uh a staffing, like you kind of mentioned staffing, but staffing's a very important thing, especially when it comes to when it comes to the gaming industry, because like unlike if you're unlike other industries, like say the IT business or that kind of thing, like or like some other sort of like, say for example, uh like um the say for example law, right? Law is a very dry, very sophisticated, but really complicated by the books kind of thing, right? Um, Lawyers generally tend to go where the money is, and also generally tend to be paid, for the capacity that they can do, but not for the artistry in what they do, right?
Yeah,
Um, Gaming is completely different. Gaming is very creative, and creative types have a tendency to stick with the things that they've created. It's very much it's very much something where you stick to where you are until it becomes untenable, and then you kind of move on. Unless you're unless you're in one of the more technical side of things. So when it comes to sort of oh, Amazon has so much money, they can just buy all the talent that they need. That's not how it works. You can't just will amazing artists into being, and will sort of their desires to leave the things that they have put their heart and their soul into, to go and do something else, kind of thing. So it takes
especially
time.
MMO developers.
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
you're looking at people that oftentimes have put in 10 to 15 years on a project. Sure, they might have
yeah,
gotten to, there are some of them out there, and they, several of them litter the Amazon staff. Um, you know, uh, but there are some of them out there who just get tired or decided, hey, I want to move on to something else. I think I've done what I came here to do with whatever game I was working on before. Um, and they're doing good work at Amazon now.
yeah.
There are other people who went, I see what they're trying to do, but it's just not where I want to go. You know,
And some of them have
uh,
issues with like contracts as well, contract
yeah.
terms and
and
contract
and
like
there's also the
durations as well.
component of, and this is more visible on things like the subreddit, that not everyone likes Amazon.
No,
Like,
no.
you know,
There's
simply
definitely
put,
that group.
there was a lot of love to hate people, um, that just get off on just not liking Amazon. Like,
And I'm sure
okay,
some of them have
you know,
legitimate gripes for
yeah,
that, like, and I think there's definitely the people there who have legitimate reasons to not like Amazon in any way, shape, or form. But like, the thing is, Amazon is a family of companies, and just because you have some serious issue with Amazon logistics and Amazon sort of warehouse stuff, does not mean that like the people crafting that fucking sword in New World had anything to do with anything,
yeah,
with like, the conditions in the fucking Amazon warehouse in that random kind of location or whatever, right? It's nothing to do with them. So like, the hatred that people have for one aspect of an Amazon sort of, side of the Amazon business, just projecting that hate straight to completely separate and completely different kind of side is just ridiculous. Completely not fair.
yeah. Um, it is always a little bit, strange. Um,
Yeah. And even if you kind of looking at it kind of going like, oh, but it all siphons back to Jeff Bezos, right? It all lines the pockets of Jeff Bezos. Well, yeah, maybe, but like, when you're talking about who's the worst, like, person in terms of like who's the worst sort of like rich kid on the block when it comes to the sort of the gaming when it comes to gaming or when it comes to things attributed to gaming. Like one, Tencent, and China and the Communist Party of China. That's a big one. Second one is Bobby Kotick, which I might like hasten to
Yeah,
add that this week
somehow this happened.
somehow the board of directors at Activision Blizzard decided to keep Bobby Kotick. Sorry, the shareholders decided to keep Bobby Kotick on the board of directors, which just goes to show like the level of complete um, like moral bankruptcy that they have. You know, because it's all about the money. When it comes to shareholders, they don't care who gets abused, just so long as they get a stonking great big fucking check at the end of it. And Bobby Kotick has been giving those shareholders big ass checks at the end of it. It doesn't matter how many people get abused, how many people are humiliated, how many staffers decide to kill themselves because of the abuse that they've experienced. Like, and that's the thing. And you want to kind of go here and go like, oh, but but Amazon Games will be siphoning off that money to Jeff Bezos. Well, in terms of like who's the bigger asshole on the picture, like I don't think it's Bezos.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. The gaming industry as a whole has a lot of issues. Um, I think that industry and most professional careers have a lot of issues when it comes to higher level management. Um, you know, uh, getting quality people in senior management roles, or even first tier managers, can be very challenging. Like,
Mm,
companies are often taking a hope on things, and because they might be understaffed, like the example of the Amazon workers, pissing in water bottles, um, you know, because they couldn't
I,
couldn't get to the bathroom in the allotted time for the breaks. Like, you know, I one what most people don't know is that the follow up to that is that the managers involved in that were fired.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
now, has it gotten that much better? There's stories in both directions. They're
exactly.
Amazon recently actually just came out with um, forget the name of it, but a new robot that basically is going to be,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
instead they're going to be redesigning things. Instead of having runners, which basically went, go pick up an item in row 3, then pick up an item in row 37, and then on the far end of the warehouse in row 153, you've got another small item. All three of those go in one box. You know,
yeah,
like, that's not a sustainable method. You had people running a warehouse for 14 miles a day, and they realized, hey, this is a shit idea. So what they're doing is they're basically making robots that carry shelves, and they'll trek the shelves to the people packing the boxes, so that all they got to do is worry about packing the boxes. They don't gotta, um, they don't need to deal with that. So like they're investing in a lot of technology to kind of try and solve their way out of problems, and a lot of people
yeah,
forget about that. Um, it's very different. It's a very different type of thing, but like a lot of people forget about that, or they don't want to cover that. Because it's not controversy. It's not, um, as we always like to pick on several content
but
creators.
I would
Controversy
say
sells.
I would say, and considering that we've only got 3 minutes here, there is a bit of legitimate controversy that I think completely skipped an ethics committee in any and every regard when it comes to Amazon, and that is regarding the Alexa sort of this new tech that Amazon wants to put into Alexas and Echoes and that kind of thing, regarding like actually impersonating people's voices. Um, somehow that completely skipped and missed an ethics committee in any way, or an ethics kind of department in any and every way, every
Yeah.
shape or form.
That
Because
that right
like,
there is technology that somebody should have asked the question, not can we do it, but should we do it? Um,
no, not even that. Not a can we or should be, but like, yeah, these kind of things that you said are great positives. But what are the negatives to somebody having this technology or abusing this technology? And that seems to be something that always seems to be skipped over when it comes to tech. Like this stuff can basically be used to spoof. Can be potentially used to spoof like banking certification systems. It can be used for to from like what is it like?
they could
What do they
impersonate
call it?
us.
Yeah, they could
You
impersonate
know,
us. They could
with
impersonate.
a minute,
They
like we have hours and hours of us talking, and all it needs is 1 minute, and it can impersonate whoever you want it to. So
Yeah,
if you give it words to say, it shit, we could walk away and just script the whole show and just pretend
and
it's us.
there's but more than that, like scammers and stuff like that have been able to essentially create, have been able to spoof, people's phone numbers and stuff like that, right? And people's caller IDs like all the time, right? Can you imagine getting a phone call from your friend, right? And it's sounding exactly like your friend, or pretty much exactly like your friend, right? Maybe saying something like that, or saying like, "Oh, hey, yeah, I've got a bit of a cold right now, but like, can I quickly get you to to transfer some money here because like I'm kind of out of cash and I need some, but I will definitely pay you back like next week."
Mhm.
You know, something as innocuous as that, right? And if it's a good friend, you could be like, "Oh yeah, okay, that's fine," etc., etc. Giving the details, and then you phone them up like a week later, kind of going like, "I thought you were going to pay me back," and them having no idea because you've just got scammed by somebody who used an Amazon Alexa like voice cloning kind of tool.
Mhm.
It just is ridiculous. It's completely fucking ridiculous.
Now, to be
But it
to
is
be
a like a
fair, to be
possible.
fair,
It's a
there are
possible
other
thing.
companies that have developed similar tech. Um,
Yeah, but it's about how
Amazon's is just
much.
more interesting because one, they're
It's a
trying to sell it as kind of recreate if you have like video of somebody who died and as like a coping mechanism, you want to be able to pretend like you're talking with them.
It's a little bit
That's kind of
creepy,
how
not
they're
gonna
selling
lie,
it.
but it is
Uh,
a little bit creepy. But like the thing that I think it has shocked people is more along the lines of like how much audio you need to be able to pull off that
yes,
voice.
that's the other
That's the
kicker
thing that
is
scares
that
people.
Amazon only needs 1 minute of audio.
Yeah.
1 minute of talking gets you their voice patterns, gets you like how or gets you the tone of voice and all of that, within pretty close range. You know, now again, imagine, McLeod and I here have,
Hours and
hundreds of
hours and hours.
hours of audio, that is publicly available. You know, so that's a relatively concerning thing. That said, we've just hit, we just hit. We're 2 minutes over 7 o'clock, so let's actually kick it to
Shit.
the real show. We're gonna
Okay.
be starting off with New World when we come back, so we'll see you guys on the other side of the intro video.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, welcome everybody. Oh, thank God. Uh,
We're fucked,
the,
aren't we?
nope, we're good. We're good. It's playing.
It's
So
okay. Okay, thank God for that.
we, yep, we have good news. Welcome to the NWO show. We have based on our last couple of episodes, which happen to be marathons. This should be a cakewalk in comparison.
Good
We
breeze.
have a bit of news about New World, a bit of news about Lost Ark, and a little bit of news
Um,
about Star Citizen as well. So it's
the
been
the Star Citizen kind of thing's been growing a little bit because today
yes.
there was a bunch of like stuff, but yeah,
Oh, yeah.
let's
It's
we could
always
definitely
funny.
crack
Like
on
we
with
moved
a
our show from Tuesdays to Wednesdays because like all of these companies started releasing like big news on Tuesdays. We were like, we need a day to like process this, and all of a
well,
sudden we
no,
pushed
we
it
at
to
least we at
Wednesdays.
least need
And,
a few hours. We at least need a few
yeah,
hours to kind of get it, but like rather than things happening as we are live, kind of thing.
and
But
and now
but
almost all of them have switched to Wednesdays at like 4 or 5 o'clock. All of a sudden, we're getting all of these announcements, and it's like, oh, great. Let me come right off of work and dive right into
not
patch notes and
I mean, not saying that we're trendsetters, A's, but
yeah. So
Anyway, previously on the NWO show, right?
yes, previously on the NWO show, our last week we basically covered for New World. The bonus XP events are going to continue. The 1.5.4 live patch dropped with some healing perk and visual bug fixes, among some other things. We had a dev blog about the sound design of arenas. We covered some community discontent with how the game was represented in early development and people's inability to attribute quotes correctly. Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah, that
basically
can screw you over
trust
your
in the team
argument,
that we
man.
have because the ones that people think were the saviors weren't as much as you think they were. Um, you know, then I lost my spot.
Then
This
basically,
is why I need a
AGS is that
teleprompter. That's
this
my
is
next
yeah,
device.
yeah. God, that like I'm just gonna hate it. Like if you have issues with the teleprompter after you purchase it as well, every
It's
single
going at
time. Like I'm
19
just gonna,
times
I'm gonna,
speed.
I might have to literally fly over there and like actually try and strangle you. Like
Oh god.
anyway,
Um,
AGS. There's an AGS dev called Tiger Crane released basically a dev blog explaining the situation with removing tuning orbs for expeditions.
mhm.
And obviously, with that, like, well, a little after that, we actually also got we also finally got the PTR patch notes for
Which
the
were
changelog for the live
huge.
release, and
They were
yeah, it was
massive.
freaking massive
Yes.
because they were
And
doing
of
a
course,
lot of
since then,
changes.
we've been able to take a look at the PTR and see what's actually on there.
Yes,
And it in itself is part of the topics for
well,
this week's show.
yes. Don't be going off too early, mate.
So, the
uh,
last week
yeah,
for Lost Ark, um, the game update that we thought was going to happen didn't happen.
yeah,
Instead, we got a very, very, very tiny update, and instead they pushed an update on why the game wasn't going to release until this week, or why the new major update for the month wasn't going to release until this week. Um, and what they were kind of doing in the meantime. Also, we talked about how they effectively banned uh,
75% of the game.
about 75% of the total accounts for botting were RMT. Um,
Although to
you
be fair, it had become so lucrative to bot in an RMT in Lost Ark that it was actually beating crypto mining.
mhm,
So you know,
yeah. Uh, so to put this in perspective, the game had been trending around 800,000 concurrent users. It is now in the 200 to 300,000 user range. for concurrent users. That is a
Damn.
huge hit. um,
So
yeah,
a lot of yeah, a lot of yeah, a lot of stuff needed to be cleared out.
yes. Several prominent community members were also banned for RMT, real money
Mhm.
trading, and basically supporting the bots through that. And that left several guilds kind of up in the air with major amounts of money and effort put into those guilds completely negated because, you know, if you cheat, you get it taken away. And their
Mhm.
leader got banned. Um, so I find that quite funny. Um,
Yeah, that's the what you're regarding you specifically you were talking about like a leader of essentially like
yes,
12 large organizations, 12 large player
yes,
orgs, just basically got like permabanned.
yep. Um,
Damn.
that's what you get for RMT. Like, don't do it.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
And
from there, we covered
also,
Star Citizen. Star
yep.
Citizen had started Alien Week, which you saw a bunch of discounts on alien ships, competitions with alien themes, some alien lore, and cryptic alien messages that people managed to basically decrypt, which was really kind of cool to see. Um, and they gave a ton more details on the Banu Merchantman, lightening my wallet in the process. With a 22-minute Inside Star Citizen featurette. Star Citizen Live was a hangout and conversation with a concept artist, Fred DePere, as he puts out a cartoon depiction of the Sheehan. And we also
Yeah.
got to see an update on the roadmap and continued efforts on the Lego contest versus Eve Online, which
Yep.
we all know which side's gonna win. Like,
I
let's be
kind of
real.
feel like, yeah, I do kind of
One
feel,
game's gaining popularity, the other one is removing itself from relevance. You know.
yeah, and
Anyways,
so
friendly
that's
competition.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all fair in love and war, as they say.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was basically that was last week. Um,
Yes.
but we have
Since then,
a fair amount of news this week.
yes. So since then,
Not an overly large amount, but I think there's some good conversations that we can have in it for sure. In terms
there's
of New
definitely
World,
some cool stuff.
yeah,
The PTR patch is massive. Um,
yes,
for anybody out there who is basically complaining about like there's no content or whatever, they're adding a brand new expedition. The expedition will have mutations to it. Um, it's they're adding a instruments to the game, and kind of like a whole as I basically kind of surmised last week. It appears to work a lot like kind of Guitar Hero Garage Band style. Um, you know, uh, hit buttons
yeah,
as it
yeah,
crosses over a line type thing, which actually
yeah.
works pretty
It's
well.
very Guitar Hero. Yeah, it's
You
very Guitar Hero. I was wondering whether it was going to be or not because it seemed a bit much, I guess. But like you seem somewhat adamant. And to be fair, the some of the language, in the patch notes and stuff like that did very much hint at, an action orientated, uh, you know, uh, play your instrument kind of thing. And
yes.
it was indeed the case,
Hmm.
and quite enjoyable and entertaining at the same time.
Yeah. Um, so the PTR servers are live. So if you guys want to go check out the PTR, there is a lot there. There's some really cool stuff. I think people will be surprised at how much has changed. I know in managing the subreddit, one of the most commonly started threads that we hammer down pretty oftenly because nobody wants to read 1,000. Is it worth coming back? Is now the time to come back? Yes. Just come back and play the game. If you bought it once, you don't have to pay again. just come back and try it.
Yeah.
There's a ton of stuff that's been added. There's a ton of new quality of life changes. It's totally worth it. If you haven't tried it yet, if you haven't bought it yet, now is also probably one of the best times to buy it. Um,
Yeah, with the Steam summer
Specifically,
sale.
the Steam Summer Sale has it at 40% off. Basically, it's like I think it's 20 some bucks. Like
Yeah.
which it was worth it at 40 bucks, at 20 some bucks. Just do it. Like, you know,
Yeah.
that's
You you'll
easy.
you'll get
Yeah.
you'll easily get 40 hours of decent gameplay, decent sort of fun out of the game. People are
Um
getting hundreds.
yeah, they're getting
People are
hundreds
easily getting
or
hundreds.
there's people with thousands of hours into the game. Like, if they can
Mhm.
get thousands of hours into the game, then clearly there's a lot more to do. One of the challenges with most MMOs is it doesn't handhold you and tell you you need to go do X, Y, and Z today. You know, so
Mhm.
oftentimes people are like, I don't have any more quests to run. What do I do? Well,
Yeah.
go run expeditions. Go run, you know, go run Outpost Rush. Go run arenas. Go, have
There's a lot of
fun.
very
Like there's plenty
yeah,
of stuff to do.
there's definitely an open-ended aspect to New World. Like, it'll guide you through and like, give you kind of quests to be able to do and side quests and that kind of thing. But you will run out of it, and there will be more things to be able to do. And a lot of that kind of stuff that you can do is very much centered around y- getting in touch with other players and basically uh, getting into groups, getting into companies, and having a kind of a group goal or some kind of effort that you're trying to do as a group of people, whether it's take over a certain area, whether it's you know sticking it to a certain group that you have like beef with in some way, shape, or form. But like a lot of this sort of stuff is happens when it comes to MMOs that you have an open ended element to it.
Absolutely. Um, the 1.5.5 patch dropped on Tuesday with some adjustments to the PvP XP and Salt, as well
Hmm.
as introducing a new gypsum type specific to arenas to promote more engagement with it. Um,
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's one of the reasons why they added that gypsum type, because like I don't see particular reason why they should be adding more gypsum to it,
oh, yeah.
to the game. Um,
It's just
if
adding
anything, I'd rather have it
another
stripped out.
incentive for people to go and do at least a couple of rounds of it.
Yeah,
I think that's a solid change.
I
You
don't
know,
know. I kind of feel like it's a change that AGS feels like it will promote people to do it, but like I don't know. Like there's a degree of adding gypsum to it. Yeah, fair enough. The issue is that if people don't like it, they may with this addition to to with gypsum into it, that they now feel like they are required to do it every day. I wouldn't say forced to do it because no one's like putting a gun to your head and saying like,
I mean,
do the fucking thing. But like,
yeah.
if someone's basically if it's basically going like, you know do these things and you get some additional kind of um, progression on your expertise, and people are going to feel like, well, if I don't do it, then like, I'm basically punishing myself,
Mhm.
and so they go and end up doing it, and especially if they're fairly low in terms of expertise, like you've played it, I've played it, like when you're low on expertise, you know when you're not running 625s, it's fucking hard. It
Yeah.
is. It's genuinely fucking hard. And 9 times out of 10, you're probably gonna come out of there, especially if the people who you're queuing with are, like, friends, right? Because you wanna be playing this game with friends, and there's no point in, there's no point doing these sorts of things, not with your friends kind of thing, because it's the fun aspect of gaming is gaming with friends. And so, doing it with your friends who are of similar level, chances are you're going to come out of most of your matches on the arenas at a 3-0 like loss. And that alone, it is essentially a 50-50 flip 3 times on whether you're going to get gypsum or not. And that
Yeah.
could be that could net you 3, that could net you 0. Like, you don't know. So it's kind of like, how much of that negativity or how much of that negative gameplay feel are you gonna have to deal with
And
before you
I think
feel
people
either
kind of
like I'm not gonna
settle
play
in.
or I get yeah.
I think
But
people
like
kind of settle into like running a few of the different types of gypsum, and like there are types that I refuse to do. Like,
but
you
that's
know,
what I mean. Like that's what I mean. Like, there's a few that you refuse to do, and chances are, like, people are going to be maybe feel like they are pressured to go and do this, and they're gonna do it, and they're gonna feel like this is another aspect of the game that feels horrible, and they're gonna refuse to do it. But they're still gonna go through that kind of period of, I was enjoying the game, but now I'm not because I'm like, I'm smashing my head against this against arenas like every
so
day.
this kind of
I
it
just
brings us to another topic here. There's a change on the PTR that uh
it's almost to the
more
other
of the
direction though.
hardcore players. So like this will be a good thing for newer players and in my opinion, a good thing for the older players too, to give them something new to work towards. Uh,
There's yeah,
Basically, the
there's a
change
lot
is
of
that
discussion with this.
if you like right now, if you have an item that has a specific attribute, so like all of its points are in strength, uh,
Yeah.
it will no longer be as valuable as one with a split score. So basically, if it's split, Constitution and Strength, it will give you more total attribute points than the ones that give you a single attribute type. So this is
Yeah.
really going to incentivize people to change up their setups to ensure that they get even more attribute points than they had before. This
No,
means
no,
that a
like
lot of the best in slot gear that was out there, not to mention the
mhm,
fact that there's a whole like perk reshuffle here that like they've gone mad with the changes on that. Uh,
yeah.
and the PvP perks that have been added, and all of these other things. Like, there's a ton of things here that are going to shuffle up the meta. The more older players who have spent potentially hundreds of thousands of gold on gear to get best in slot items now we're looking at their items and going, well, shit. Now I got to grind for all this stuff to get better stuff. You know,
Well, it's a case of like I spent a shit ton of time, a shit ton of effort, a shit ton of resources to both get the best in slot stuff and also to upgrade that stuff so it is like actually best in slot because like you're going to be using your umbral shards to to get that gear all the way up to 625. And you're going to be doing that not just for a single piece, but you're going to be doing for basically everything, right? And so the thing is, people are like, the people who have done that, and the people who have spent a long time to do that, are looking at this patch kind of change, just in the sense of like, I've spent all of this time and effort and resources for subpar gear. The best in slot stuff isn't going to be the gear that I have. It's actually going to be something else because at the moment, we do want to stress at this particular moment in time, the way that it is on the PTR right now, a full set of single perk gear versus a single perk, versus a full set of like split perk gear at the maximum, at the maximum sort of power level and all that kind of stuff, right? The split perk gear is going to basically gonna give you 50 attribute points more than the single perk or single attribute perk stuff,
mhm, which
which is
which
actually
is
quite
gonna
a lot.
potentially unlock another level on the actual like out of 300, you have the each 50 points gets you potential another bonus.
Yeah, like
So
a
that's
classic.
potentially a lot of extra stuff. On top of that, that's potentially 50 extra points that can go into con,
Like
add a
if
little
you
bit
if you
more
were
health.
getting like, say for example, you were putting in all your stuff into strength, right? Strength, and you had a bit in con to basically round out your character. What this means is you could potentially have a split attribute perk gear set that also adds, or adds enough into into con and into, say for example, dexterity, to the point where you're getting to 50 dex, as well as your original sort of amount for constitution and for strength, which means that you're going to get a bonus increase in the amount of crit, the chance, your crit rolls, right? You're going to get plus 10% on crit, plus 10% chance to crit, which that means that, you know based on that versus your original kind of set, your original gear set, it is clearly, superior to the other one. So your previous one is not best in slot anymore. Like, this stuff is best in slot, by a country mile. And so the thing is, and I think the issue that I think, and one of the reasons why I've said specifically, like, as it stands right now, is that the amount of additional attribute points that you're getting from split stack, or split attribute perks in the PTR is too much. Because the entire idea of this was not to, create a new best in slot loadout, but to take those loadouts that were basically never being used because they're split attributes, um, further up into an area where they are of similar, of similar kind of power. Not
I would
way
challenge that
over.
in saying that I think in combination with the perk changes, where they've basically altered the stats on almost every weapon and armor perk out there, to make sure that there isn't going to be like that the original meta is busted. Like they want
Well,
to break it up and have other things be useful and valuable to kind of
I
shake
get
up the
that, but
current meta to make the current stuff like so that there's an incentive to like keep going. This is how like every game works, is that one if you
I get
have a
that.
best in
Ace.
slot,
I
it
get that.
can't stay
I
the
get
best
that.
in slot permanently.
I get that, and we're gonna definitely get to talking about that for sure. But what I'm saying is, like, all of these perks are gonna be, used on every single kind of, like, it's not like, one perk, one set of perks cannot be used, or cannot, like, proc on on a single stack, or on a single attribute perk,
Yeah,
a piece of armor, but can on a split perk, or a split attribute perk. Like,
yeah.
they can still land on exactly the same thing. So, like, in the situation where you know you have two sets, one is single attribute, one is dual attribute. They both have exactly the same perks. Aside from those, the one with the split is going to be superior, because you're going to have 50 more attribute points to put in.
So
What I'm saying is
what I'm saying
that's
is
not
that
the
I don't see this as a bad thing, because they're making all of these changes so that everybody has to redo this, or everybody has to find the new best in slot, the new meta. Uh,
what I'm saying is, like, that wasn't the intention.
I think it was.
Because the
That's
intention,
why
well,
you would
like,
make that's why you would
Joe,
change up
Joe,
the perks and change up the attributes at the same time.
well, that wasn't what was expressed by, uh, I think it was Patrick, or I can't remember if it was Patrick or not. Like, that was what was expressed by AGS, was they saw the irrelevancy of of gear sets that were, dual attribute that had dual attribute perks, over, that were basically being, you know, thrown out and basically, considered garbage tier compared to single attribute perks. and they were like, well, in order to bring these stuff back up to relevancy or back up to contention, that they were going to change it so they were going to have more attribute points. That I understand, but like when it goes so far in excess that it means that the entire meta has been basically thrown out and a new meta is kind of basically being born with these split attribute perks. Um, that's going too far. You know what I mean?
And
That's
what
that's
I'm
like
saying is that
that's
if you
buffing
put it
too far.
in if you put it in at the same time as you're also reevaluating every perk out there
The
to
perks don't
in
matter because they they
they
can they
do
can they can
matter.
land on they can land on exactly the same thing. We've already said this. Like they can land on the same piece of
Okay,
gear.
so here's the thing. What
Hmm.
we have now versus what we're getting, the perk will be different in its value,
Yeah.
correct? Which
Yes.
means
Yes. But those perks are going to change. Like those perks will change on gear that's already in the game.
yes, but a lot of that gear right now is just being salvaged and not used because those perks are considered completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
But when they're reformed and buffed to appropriate levels to make them competitive in the meta,
Hmm.
then there's an incentive to shake things up there built in. In yeah, it's gonna be it's perks that are in the game now that they're gonna change the levels on. But in doing that, and the other thing at the same time, it's basically saying, hey, whatever meta there was, figure out a new one.
So
like
so 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 as a separate thing, right? Like I come like mainly from the world of FPS and from the world of EVE Online. The world of EVE Online is a very cyclic thing where they the developers CCP, you know, go in and change and like you basically mix up the meta so people have more things to train for, more things to buy, more things to kind of get used to, more things to try out, more things to reform and refactor like their mainline doctrines, their mainline sort of ships to defend and to attack each other with. Like I can understand that from a longevity point of view. What I'm saying is you know, when it comes to EVE Online, when it comes to New World, not EVE Online, I don't think we're at that point yet, and I don't think that like it's deep enough for that because, like, for example, in EVE Online, there is no best in anything. Like, there's no best in slot for like best in slot items for a ship. There's no best in slot ship for any
Oh,
kind
but I
of
mean,
thing aside
there's
from
meta
maybe
fits.
Titans.
There's still meta fits for just about every ship, though.
There's still
Like,
meta fits for ships, but those ships, are kind
you
of like
ask
a rock
somebody how to
paper
fit out
scissors.
a navy vexor for ratting, and if it doesn't have a 100 MN afterburner, then they're just wrong. Like,
Yeah, but like
because that's what the meta
that's a
is.
specific that's a specific specific fit for a
I,
specific purpose.
and again,
It's not
that's
best in slot,
similar to the different,
and
I don't want to call them
but
classes in New World, but different
but
fits
when
in New World
people
for different, different weapons.
But when people refer to best in slot in New World, they mean best in slot for
Yeah.
every scenario, every situation. Like, yeah,
Well,
they might not be a healer,
you're
but
never
they're
gonna
a
have something that's
DPS.
best in slot for everything though. Like,
I mean,
you're going to avoid
they're not
certain
going to
fights
be.
because you're not going to be able to take. Like, I know that as a great axe player, I can do fuck all against a musket. You know, or I know I'm going to get
Well,
dunked
well,
against a
well,
rapier in a bow. Like, you know, I'm resigned to the fact that regardless of whatever gear I have, I'm losing that fight. You know,
yeah.
one because I'm
But,
shit at it, but that's but the
but what
reality
I'm
is that
saying, is like the capacity, the length, the amount of room for alternative fits, the alternative setups and stuff like that in something like Eve Online is large enough in terms of like space, like not in terms of obviously like spaces in space kind of thing, but like there's enough space in the sort of game systems to be able to have fits that are like hard counters to other fits and that kind of thing. And that's the thing. Like, you know, there's no best in slot in EVE Online except for maybe Titans, but that's pretty much it. Um, and even then, you have many instances where people have Titans and get completely destroyed. But like the issue is that I really don't like the term best in slot, but when it comes to the split perk versus the single perk, or single split attribute perk versus the single attribute perk, like I do kind of see where they're coming from, with regards to it being too much. I'm also very much I also very much understand from other titles that the idea of the best in slot or the end game, especially in a persistent long term MMO, is fucking laughable because it never should be. And even CCP, even EVE Online suffers from this because they have constantly had they've constantly fucked up, you know, you know, trying to fix the kind of like capital and super capital side of the game to make Titans either relevant or not relevant, and they're always like going too far one way or the other. The reason why is because for whatever reason they think very much in the same way that people in New World think that when people have these things they need it to be like super overpowered, for people to not cry about the amount of time and effort that they spent getting them.
Yeah.
The actual trick to it is to go in and look at it like an ecosystem and say, how can this be balanced with everything else? Where does everything have its own place? And if you have an outlier there that does not fit with it, then it shouldn't be there. And at this point in time, the idea of the end game or the best in slot item is this outlier. And either you reel it in,
So
you bring it into an ecosystem that actually works holistically with everything,
and that's
or
what I
you
think the
refactor it
perk
entirely.
rebalance is going to help do. Like,
Yeah, but
like
what I'm saying is just
the
they're going
being down
specifically
50
on the attribute
attribute
points too
points on
far.
being down 50 attribute points on patch day is like, I just don't care. Like, I'm sorry, like
I mean,
I'm down so many more
I'm just
points
saying.
by not being 600 gear score across the board that
But
I
we're not
just don't,
talking about 600 gear score
and
stuff. Like
I
we're
know
talking about
give me a minute
the end
to finish
game.
what I'm saying first here, like, because this is important.
All
Right
right, all
now
right.
there's what, 5 perks maybe that people care about in
Yeah,
the current meta. And that's all of the other ones are fucking useless. Like, if they're rolled on a
yeah,
weapon, they're considered useless garbage that should be either sold for super low amounts of gold or just reprocessed into repair parts
just salvage.
because it's fuck all useful.
Hmm.
When you change up every perk in the game with the idea of being, hey, we want all of these perks to be somewhat balanced with each other, and for there to be an incentive to say, do I want to go with a full resilient build, or do I want to go with this other perk that in the past has had such a laughably low number, uh, that people look at it and go, why the fuck would I want that? But now all of a sudden, hey, when you put several of these stacked together, holy shit, that's actually a decent build. But is it worth it compared to the resilient build, or is it worth it compared to the various
Okay,
other builds, or
okay.
like a regen
I
build,
wanna.
or stuff like
I
that? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
when
I
you
want to use a
change
different
those things
example.
out, people are going to have to change the gear that they're currently using anyways.
Yeah,
And
yeah. They're gonna have to change the gear.
in the meantime, while everybody's still changing that, these people who are 625 gear score across the board are still going to be dunking on fucking the rest of us, even
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the less optimal set. Like, and they're
Yes,
still
that is
probably
true.
going
But
to be among the first people to get to the more optimal sets.
Yeah.
And it's still going
This
to
isn't about
be
like.
6 to 10 months before everybody in that kind of class gets
This,
close
this
to a
is
best in slot setup because of the
but
drop rates on things.
this isn't about like end progression versus mid progression. Like this is end progression versus end progression. Like I'll give you a different example, right? You know, um, you know, if you saw two cars that had identical kind of identical paint jobs, identical fucking, you know, lush looking paint jobs, right? Look the fucking business, right? They look fucking fantastic, and you were like, this one is like this car is fucking awesome. This car looks fucking awesome as well, right? If you found out like one of them was a fucking bona fide Ferrari and the other one was fucking a Mazda MX-5 with a Ferrari body kit, which one would you choose?
The Ferrari,
Yeah, because it
like,
has the performance.
yeah,
You wouldn't go, but the other one, the Toyota, but like, it looks just as good. You know, consider the looks of that. Consider like the fucking look of it as like having all the like the greatest perks. Like after the perk mix up, but the Ferrari one is the one with 50 additional attribute points. You're gonna
so
go with the
basically
50 different attribute points.
what I'm saying is everybody's going to be tossing up their build anyways. So like the new meta is going to change everything anyways. Like between the perk changes, the attribute changes, new weapons being added, the changes in drop rates, the increased drop rates of higher gear score,
Yeah,
and like increased rarity drop rates and stuff like that is going to change the meta across the board for everything. So like I don't anticipate most players will achieve the true best in slot anytime soon. And I think this gives a lot of the players who have achieved the current best in slot a lot of opportunity to go and continue to grind for newer, better gear, which is the life cycle of every game. You know,
yeah, no, I get that.
like and anytime the devs step in to say, hey, we need to change, we need to make more perks relevant. Like that also means that they might need to make certain perks that are out there less relevant. Like I would be highly surprised if we continued to see the resilient build in the end game super long term. It might be, because maybe in the process, there's crit builds out there that get a buff. But then again, it's going to be built against a certain thing. Um, just as there might be specific things that just increase specific damage types, and
Yeah,
change up the perks that make it so that sure, the item you had was best in slot now, but like because the perk that you have is just no longer relevant in the meta, like it's being negated from that. Or you might have a piece of gear on that you thought was your worst piece of gear. Like I have several split stat pieces of gear just because that's all I could fucking afford. you know so
yeah,
like
yeah. I do.
I'm kind of looking forward to what happens with that. uh
No,
you know
I get that.
but
I
like
do
I
get
also
that.
have a bunch of like random ass stats that are not useful, and I'm curious what they're going to be post change, and if they might turn in, it might turn into a god tier piece that nobody was expecting. you know
Yeah, yeah,
so like just as like some people are going to have to change out certain gear, the new meta might have some people in that gear already because that was the best piece they could find at the time and they hadn't changed it out with something better. So like I see this as an absolute win. It keeps people playing the game for the ever elusive end game best builds. What's the best meta? What's the most tried and true thing? Like I see this as an absolute win. You know,
okay.
and I think that timed at the same time, the attribute change and the perk change is a lot nicer than if they did them separately. Because instead of saying, hey, fuck you, go find a new meta, um, with the attribute change, they're saying, hey, we could have done this at two different times and shooken up the meta twice. Instead, we're doing it at one time. Like, you know, and I'm sure they're going to continue to make changes in the future, but this is gonna. I think this is gonna be a good time because more is happening at one time to ensure that, but it's also gonna give kind of the later mid to late tier 60s a better chance of gaining some value, and really like being able to get closer to that super end game, best build a lot faster than the current meta. Especially with a lot of the other like mixed in changes with the drop rates and rarity of items. Like I
Yeah.
think that's a solid change. Um, you know, I
Yeah.
as much as people will complain, like a good example of a game that like constantly kind of shifts things up a little bit and like there's a shitload of grind and it's for an ever increasing amount of efficiency is a
Yeah.
game called Warframe. The end game is literally how ridiculous, like how many seconds can I carve off a run? Um,
Yeah. Like
you
speed
know,
running.
like because like it's just like built to the super extreme. Like, how can I get my character to infinitely tank better? You know,
Yeah.
uh, and that's basically the entire end game. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, uh,
So I yeah.
so like
I
getting to the
I
best in
do get
slot
that.
is this ever elusive thing, and for the people who think that they're already there, and that I respect the fact that they ground to get there, but expecting to stay there permanently is a false narrative in and of itself because it is as a game developer you should be aiming for that never to happen,
Yeah.
because you don't want the Eve Online situation of 2.5 years of hacks in space,
Oh god, yeah.
or before that 2.5 years of archons in space, uh, or 2.5 years of Gilas in space, or 2.5 years of Macarials in space, before you
Yeah.
make changes to the meta. Like you want to keep shaking things up with at the same time. Even Line's got a little bit different story because there's like industrial supply chains that have to change. So like it's a little bit
Yeah.
different on timelines, and you have to respect the fact that those people need like time to change the supply chain, but time to like actually profit off of those changes too. So you can't
Yeah,
just like flip it
there's
every
a
week.
there's a lot more there's a lot more kind of like,
Yeah,
people who shriek and go kind of like crazy when, when changes happen in EVE Online than, you know, people who freak out like in New World when, they change the meta. But like
yeah.
so just kind of quickly rolling back to that, single versus dual attribute perk thing. It was Phil Bolus who mentioned it on a New World Dev update, who were basically saying that they wanted to make the double stats perks more viable,
Mhm.
and so that's kind of like what I'm saying is like there's making something more viable, and then there's completely upending the entire meta, right? And I get it, like making these changes to all of the perks, not like not the stats kind of thing, but just the perks, right? Doing a whole load of work to make, a whole bunch of the perks that were, not really procking that much on gear, happen a lot more. Um, you know, and also increasing their potency does make that situation where the best in slot gears might not actually be best in slot at this point in time. But adding to that a situation where like you completely upend single versus dual attribute perks to the point where like single attribute perks are like sub tier compared to dual attribute perks, like that's not bringing them into more viability. That's upending the entire thing. So like I think I think, and this is one of those things that, like, they could actually change really easily. It is like, it doesn't have to be, an additional 50 extra attribute points. It could be an additional only 25, which will reduce the kind of like severity between the two, to actually potentially be, somewhat okay. And you can play around with that kind of like that difference between single and dual in terms of how much you get in comparison. But, like, I think at 50 at this point in time is a bit too much. That's all I'm saying. I think if they dropped it to 25, it would probably be a little bit better. But, it depends. That's where you're getting into the sort of more of the kind of like, you know, the thin edge of the sword, like the very, very minuscule kind of differences. Because like an additional 50, as has been pointed out, is, potentially an additional, bonus to like say an additional 10% crit, you know, um, when you didn't actually have that. So it's that's my kind of point.
Yeah, and I'm still thinking about this in terms of like they're making all these changes at one time, obviously, so that they can shake things up, make things
Yeah.
that were prior that just weren't relevant, more competitive against the current meta. Um, like I see it. I see this as an absolute win. Like I
There was a little bit kind of, it does go a little bit kind of crazy when it comes to the percentage possible chance of actually, you know, crafting some of this best in slot stuff. Because and one of the things I think is actually very, very important to say, regarding this, and this is actually quite an important thing to say. And generally, I don't tend to take the hardcore, fucking edge lord, toxic, fucking, um, entitled players kind of side of things. But like when it comes to, say, for example, timeless shards, right? This is legitimately a game bug, right? Timeless shards don't really work in terms of the crafting process when they are for dual attribute perk item. Just doesn't work. They don't function. That needs to be
and
fixed.
here's the reality. A 600 gear score legendary build, whether it's
Hmm.
got one or two, is still gonna sell for a decent amount. Is it gonna sell for more if you can max roll it with two attributes, with all the right perks? Absolutely. But as is proven now, even shit tier legendaries are still several thousand gold. Um, for almost any piece of equipment. You know,
Yeah, but
so
like,
now do I think that build the crafting loops could use a Passover just to ensure that there's a possibility that they can still craft best in slot gear? Yes. Um, but I also don't think that it should be 100% of the time.
no, it should never
So,
be 100% of the time. But like, there's a difference between 100% of the time and what it actually is at the moment. If you're not using timeless shards, like it's kind of ridiculous.
um,
Yeah. So one of the guys ran the numbers. I'm going based off Vengeance A's post on the forums, but basically saying that the odds after the changes, would be a 1 in 900,900 to get a potential best in slot piece. So close to almost a 1 in a million chance that you'll get that you'll roll a best in slot piece. Now I'm not, I don't want to be like, I don't want to feel like that's, taking the piss a bit, but like I think there's a big scope between 100% chance and 1 in a million chance that you can kind of hit a sweet spot. And I think a 1 in a million isn't really the sweet spot. You might want to like shift that up, like, away from the million bit. That's all I'm saying. And that's what timeless shards are meant to do. Timeless shards are meant to basically reduce that, ridiculous percentage chance of getting a best in slot item to actually something that is somewhat attainable, even if it takes, some like and I say somewhat attainable in pure understanding that, like, I've gone through this whole, I've seen how ridiculous some companies, some uh, uh, developers and some publishers, take the whole sort of like, grinding for gear stuff, right? Um, so, I kind of feel like 900,000 and 900, uh, 1 in 900,000 and 900 chance of actually getting a best in slot piece is a bit ridiculous.
Mhm.
Actually, it's a whole lot of ridiculous. But yeah,
You know, obviously crafting needs a look, just to ensure
yeah,
that like I think they I'm not 100% on like guaranteeing anything. Obviously, like I don't think there should ever be that. But like I think that the more materials you throw at something, um, the better chance you should get. So like,
yeah,
if you throw, it's similar to like the way the Azoth works. If you throw more
yeah,
Azoth at it, there's a higher percent chance.
yeah.
Um,
So just so you know,
you know,
like, the timeless shard stuff locks particular kind of things, and so if you can't lock that first perk, like, the odds of getting, all the perks that you want with the gear that you want goes up by a factor of 100. And so right now it's a 1 in 909,000. Oh, sorry, 1 in 9,009 chance of getting a best in slot item. And obviously that goes up to by a factor of 100 if you can't lock down that first stat. And that's what the timeless shard does, essentially.
yeah,
When it doesn't work on a dual stat, a dual perk item, that's the problem. Or
yes,
dual attribute perk item. There you go. That's what I mean. So that's the thing that kind of like really needs to be fixed. And I think that is something that needs to be fixed because that looks much more like a bug in the game than a legitimate design decision. And I think if that if timeless shards working on dual attribute perk items do function, I think a lot of people will get off their high horse and put down their pitchforks because crafting those you know best in slot items would be a lot less daunting.
Mhm.
Because I tell you what, like 1 in 9,009 chance, like you're still you're not guaranteed that after 9,009 tries that you're going to get that. And it's not saying that you're not going to get it in half that, but like it's always a possible chance that you can either get on the first one, the fifth one, the 9,009th one, or the 18,018. Like you don't know quite when that's going to come because it is RNG based. But I can tell you, grinding all of that stuff you know for 909 or 9,009 chances, it is still quite a lot of fucking work.
yeah. And as I said, it's obvious. Crafting needs a look to make sure that it maintains maintains relevance, um, and maintains the ability to drop, um, you as with the rest of the game with their increased drop rates on everything else. I think crafting needs a quick pass over to ensure that it can do what it needs to do, to stay competitive with drop rates in the world.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
because otherwise you have people just stop crafting. Um,
I mean, thankfully they're getting on. They're potentially getting away from. They're being losing some perks out of that. Like that won't be appearing on the potential perks that will proc when you're crafting stuff, unless you specifically want to put them on, right? But like you know, so that does change the numbers up a little bit, but
yeah,
still. Anyway,
Okay.
that's kind of like, yeah. I don't think there was much else to talk about when it comes to New World and such. Like, I don't know. How do you feel? I
And I
know some of
think
that was
that
quite
pretty much
heated.
covers it. There's some stuff that that I'm still looking forward to seeing. That that I haven't seen quite yet, but I'm looking forward to. Um, the devs seem to have the right impression of which direction to go, and I appreciate that they're trying things, and that they're obviously like they've really lengthened the process for the PTR to ensure that like feedback on these kind of things can actually be taken into effect. Um,
The one thing which I hope is that there are level-headed people out there who really, really understand heavily, like, and practically how the combat system is functioning at the moment in the game, to be able to speak to developers from AGS who are humble enough to listen to the gripes and the kind of pain points in the combat system at the moment. Like, that's what every game needs. Like, cool, level-headed people who, aren't going to be approaching, each other from a point of, this person wants to be a militant about, certain aspects of the game. Um, but people who just want to understand each other's point of view, and that's all I can hope for, and that's all any game can kind of hope for, really. To be honest, it is cool, level-headed people who just want to make sure that people understand, you know, um, what, like, people understand aspects of what they've created a bit better than they think that they do.
oh yeah, oh yeah. And I know there's a ton of people that have been around for a long time that I'm sure I'm sure there's groups out there that the devs are watching that are really um, continuing to provide feedback. Like there's a ton of people that we know from early alpha days that are still in the community. Um, and I'm sure the devs over the years have identified the calm, sane, reasonable voices in the crowd. Um,
Now,
you know,
saying that, like, I still hate the expertise system, like, with a bit of a blind passion, to be completely
I think
honest.
it's gonna get so much better. It's gonna get like
I fucking hate it so much. It's just
expeditions without orbs is going to unlock the expeditions, and like
Can I
I
just
have
say
said
something on
this.
that? Can I say that something on that?
Go
And
on.
it's more of an overall thing, not really specifically related to Orbs, but but to some degree, the amounts of expeditions that you can run do factor into what I'm about to say. But, like, could we please, if you're gonna put, like, restrictions on how many times you can do certain things, can we please get it to weekly restrictions, not daily restrictions? Daily restrictions suck because anybody who has responsibilities outside of playing New World day in, day out, every single fucking moment of the day, like,
Mhm.
you butt into those restrictions when you can play,
Or
and
just
when
remove the restriction altogether.
or just remove the, well,
Like
yeah, but what I'm saying
it's
is,
like the
like,
gypsum,
if you want to,
system. I've been saying this for so long. They've created a system in which you gain a piece of this gypsum for doing this activity, right? And they've isolated out. You need a number of these pieces to
per
get
day,
an
and you can
orb.
only, yeah, and you can only get
Like,
so many per day. But
well,
what I'm saying is, like,
why limit the amount you can get per day when you could just say just let people play the game continuously and
yeah,
set the
yeah.
amount of earning those to give you a guaranteed
All I'm saying
expertise
is, like,
bump for a set amount of
I
time and have the number roughly across each different gypsum type be roughly speaking the same amount of fucking time. Like it's not a difficult
well,
thing. They've already set it up.
what I'm saying is, like, maybe AGS kind of don't want to just remove all restrictions, but, like, if they do want to have restrictions there, can we at least have weekly restrictions, because weekly restrictions don't prevent people from, when they want to play on the weekend, that they can play as much, content on the weekend as like potentially
Yeah.
anyway, as like, people who played over the week could have played, right?
See,
It is very much a
I
could
just
have
look at it
thing.
from the like I just look at it from this perspective of like, what's the
Yeah.
fear that people are going to play more of the game at one time?
Well, the fear is kind of specifically one of the reasons why they put the system in there to start off with is, if you completely unrestrict everything, then people will only ever play the thing that is most efficient at giving you
Well,
like
but
expertise.
again, they've nailed down each of these individual tasks have a set amount of gypsum that you need to get an orb that,
Hmm.
roughly speaking, you can get pretty fucking close to the same gypsum per hour if you set the drop rates based or drop rates and amount you need
And
based
yeah,
on how long that activity takes. Like for instance, Outpost Rush. If the average Outpost Rush match is 20 minutes, then every 40 minutes you get two and you get an orb. So okay,
yeah,
great. Set so that, every 40 minutes for each of the different activities roughly gets about the same thing or about the same amount of gypsum, or the same amount to get an orb. Like, it's not an overly complex thing. You know uh in
yeah, yeah,
chat,
yeah.
like, I totally get the, like, if you're doing more than 20 mutations in a week, you're probably going to go insane anyways. And it's the same with like the regular
I've seen people
expeditions.
do mental things, and I'm like, they're going like, "How is your brain not fried?" And
Yeah,
they're like, "I don't know. I could just do these things, one after one after the other, after the other, after the other."
yeah,
And like, sometimes people are made slightly differently. They can do more things, or able to cope with certain things that like other people can't. Like, it's just the complex tapestry of what is life, right? And so that's kind of like how and I'm with you on the like just let people play the game how they want to play, but if AGS desperately needs a halfway house or desperately needs some restrictive aspect of the various different things that you can play in the game, at the very fucking least make it weekly cooldowns,
yeah.
because then it doesn't give people who are playing casually
Then the people
like
that the
a
people that hit those
restriction.
weekly cooldowns early in the week need to be sent a message. Please go outside. The world needs to
It's
see
like,
you. You need
congratulations, you need to
sunlight.
touch grass.
Like,
You know?
please go touch grass. This is a
Yeah,
bit
yeah,
much,
yeah, yeah.
guys.
Exactly, exactly.
Like
And
that's
the
my
guys
thought
who
of
have been
like,
touching grass over
the
the
daily
week can
limit
do the stuff on
on
the weekend.
the daily limit on expeditions, like regular expeditions. It's somewhere in the ballpark of like 5 hours worth of expeditions. Like,
Yeah.
let's be
It's
real. There's not a lot of
a
people that
lot.
are going to have a 5 hour long play session doing the same thing over and 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 over again. Like,
There's very few, yes, but
there's
like
very few. To the few
we all
people
know
that
that
do
there are
it,
neckbeards.
like,
We
we
all know
know
that
they're
there are
out there.
neckbeards that like will do something crazy
Yeah,
like that, like autists. Like
like,
autist level people who will literally kind of
yeah,
like just do that, like are able to do
yeah. Like,
that.
we know that there's people out there who can do it. I don't know that it's healthy for them to do it. Like,
There should
at a
definitely be
certain
like
point, like,
a.
here's 5 hours of doing the same thing. After that
It should
five
definitely.
hours, go try something else.
There should definitely
You
be
know?
like a Netflix or like Amazon Video style pop up, kind of like
Yeah.
like, are you still watching? Like
Are you
kind of
okay?
in the sort of, you all right? Like do you need to like, yeah, you should probably
Would you
take
like
like
to
some
try
time off.
any of the other offerings of content in the game? Like,
Yeah,
you seem to be in an
yeah.
endless loop of running mutations. Would you like to try something else? Anything.
Exactly, exactly. not a forced
or
thing, but just basically like a
after
pop
they
up
hit
saying
that like
like,
5 hour mark, it should just have a pop up when they go to enter the dungeon again. Seriously, are
you're
you
like,
sure about
yeah,
this?
it's a question
Really?
mark, like triple question marks. Like, my God.
Are you actually doing a 15th one in the same day? Like,
Yeah.
is someone
Yeah.
holding you there against your will? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. That said,
I like that.
weekly
I
is
like that.
better than daily. I'll be the first one to say that with like Lost Ark. It drives me mad that the dailies are so limiting. Like 2 chaos dungeons. Okay, great. I've got 8 characters. That's 2 hours worth of content. You know,
Yeah.
but again, I would prefer to do one character's chaos dungeons for the week in one day so that I don't have to come back every freaking day.
Right.
And I can
Right.
get
Do you know what I
meaningful
mean?
progression on that character that day. Like,
And that's what I'm talking about for New World. Like, just let it like let somebody do a week's worth of stuff and then go on to the next thing, you know?
to add some perspective to that, I have 8 characters in New World. All of them are tier 3. Or not no, my bad, not New World. I have one character in New
Lost
World. In Lost Ark, I've got 8 characters. They're all in tier 3. None of them can run the new content that we'll talk about in the next section here, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I think we've waxed lyrical on New World quite a lot now.
Yep.
Like, I think we could probably go into Lost Ark.
We've been done with our patch notes for about fucking a half hour. Like, oh yeah. Let me prep this.
Yeah, there's some Lost Ark Prime Loot, by the way. So if you do want additional shiny things
Yes.
for your Lost Ark characters, there is definitely some Prime Loot.
Yep. I'm gonna bounce this over to the Lost Ark section.
By the way, I think from a visual standpoint and from a kind of like, you know, segmented standpoint in the show, like eventually we do want to have like kind of like almost like Stinger style kind of like intros to the kind of various different segments, like Lost, like New World, like Lost Ark, like Star Citizen, that kind of thing, to play when we go into the Lost Ark section or the Star Citizen section and stuff like that. So like I kind of feel like, would you guys out there like that? I kind of feel it would be pretty cool. I'm kind of like trying to play around and see what I can find. I think one of the most aggravating things about that is trying to find something a decent kind of like decent music to go with that, because like it still needs to be fairly short, but it needs to be really punchy and stuff. Like if you guys would appreciate that, I'll definitely get onto that. I mean, definitely 1 year on that. Like that's good. Good.
So like
I'm liking it.
To put this in perspective, when we say transitions, like we mean stuff like this. It's a nice cut. It's a nice, it's something more than the as I click the button again.
Yeah.
And versus something like this. That's the wrong one. That's not the one I clicked.
I'm not deliberately trying to fuck with you, by the way.
So like you can't even see the cut transition because it's the same one. So like let me swap to so like that's a cut change. Obviously a bad one, but
yeah.
As it cuts to like the top corner of my camera. Yeah. So basically, that's one of the things we're working on. We've got a couple of other things coming. I want to take a few moments and talk about the channel, some developments, and that before we cover Lost Ark. We have officially formed our LLC. We have some additional paperwork that needs to be done in terms of finalizing operating agreements and stuff like that. However, we are a fully formed organization as far as the state is concerned. Um, with that, you're going to start seeing some changes. We are going to be doing some stuff to kind of modernize. Like I'm, for the people that have been watching us since we started, like this channel has grown a lot. The quality I believe has gone up, other than like the first 15 minutes when everything goes to shit inevitably. Um, you know, like, but occasionally, at least twice a day, like a broken clock, we are correct. Uh, that said, like we want to bring this into the future. We want to showcase, like obviously, like our intro video is still, and I don't say this is a bad thing. Our intro video is New World. Our transitions right now are only New World. Like I want to be able to add in Star Citizen. I want to be able to add in Lost Ark transitions, and I want to add in a bunch of these other like really cool things that are going to give us a bit more freedom, creativity, and a little bit more appeal visually, as well as some content that is a little bit on the different side. Um, later in the show, later in this show, I'm actually going to be doing something towards the end, where I'm going to be talking about a couple of devices that I managed to get my hands on. And I want to showcase and it's kind of timely for the summer. I bought them both with my money. I'll talk about it more later, but I want to showcase it as something that we want to start doing, at least for our YouTube. It might not be common on like the live shows to do, but like I want to see how you guys think about it. So please stick
Yeah.
around for that, so I can get some honest opinions on that side of things.
We we may, like, every once in a while, like, pitch something that we think is actually really good or really cool, or like, worthwhile to you guys, like on the live show, but it wouldn't be like some
Mhm.
extra long kind of segment to any of our shows, as it were.
Oh yeah, like you
But
guys
yeah,
will see us. When it comes to Prime Day, you'll see a whole thing. Um, we're already starting the prep for that. Um, because we are Amazon affiliates, and we like there's a profit for sending people over to Amazon. Um,
I went and bought
if
some
you want to
stuff and I
support the
completely
channel,
forgot.
you know,
I went and bought some stuff and I completely forgot that Prime Day was coming up, because I spilled a whole bunch of like fucking tea on my like mouse pad, and so I was like, oh fuck, like I need to wash this, and then I realized I don't have a fucking mouse pad to go, to swap to while I'm washing it. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna buy some mouse pads. I bought one Jylong one, which is pretty cool, and a Twitch one, which I haven't actually used, and that's the Twitch one, which
nice,
is actually pretty cool.
very nice.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um.
they all seem to be the same kind of quality, which is pretty nice. But they're quite nice quality. Just
Yeah.
FYI. But yeah, like we should probably move
So yeah,
into
Lost
what
Ark.
we were going to talk about, Lost Ark. Yeah.
Yeah. So Lost Ark is a thing. There's Prime loot, so please take a moment if you have Amazon Prime. One, if you think we deserved it and you made it this far in the show, go ahead and throw us that Amazon Prime sub. You get
Right.
one free every month. Please don't let them go to waste.
Oh, I
Uh,
think I actually have mine. Like, I think mine's procked
mine's
actually.
in 6 days, so I've got a calendar invite for that every 30 days. I've reset mine.
Ah,
So Lost Ark is receiving The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt themed DLC. Um, it's kind of upcoming. They haven't announced specifically when, but that's going to be a pretty solid one. McLeod with the 11-month sub.
yep.
There we go.
Cheers, Jassy.
Thank you
By the
guys.
way, it's Jassy because that's who Amazon's new CEO is.
Yes, he's the new Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
Um, um, so basically, they're getting some Witcher themed DLC, which I think is going to be pretty cool. Uh,
Yeah, I know. I didn't see that yeah, I don't know how I, like, came across that, but that was pretty cool. Like
it is for sure coming to the Korean version. I would assume later on would eventually make it to the US version. They've got kind of some version control problems right now.
mhm.
Um, and like I think a lot of people have a problem with that. That shouldn't. So like if the game had come out, the class release cadence would be too quick. Um, versus like reality. Like, like had the game, knowing that there's a bunch more classes to be released, like great, that's a good thing. Um, you know, and people feel like they should be in the game already. Um, I just, like one of the things that keeps people playing is the fact that they're going to be continually adding classes and catching up. They're obviously releasing them at a much faster rate than the other servers got them. So like if you think it's dry on content, go try any of the horizontal content that you can play in the game because, you haven't done it all. I know this because I'm trying to 100% the game and it is a fuck hard task to do. like uh
Yeah,
you know,
there's definitely mechanics that you've, butted your head against that make you kinda think that there is definitely somebody who, you know
who the fuck times islands? Like, oh, it's only open for, an hour or like 5 minutes at the top of every 4 hours. What? No. Like, what sadistic fuck came up with that? like, yeah.
Uh,
So that's the thing. The other thing that I've clearly learned from Lost Ark is when you have a 90% chance. Like, if a doctor ever told me I have a 90% chance of living, and he plays Lost
I'm
Ark, I'm
fucking
like,
dead.
I'm fucking dead. Like, I ain't taking that odds.
Is this a 90% lost arc kind of chance, or is this a 90% like rest of the world chance?
yeah.
Like, what are we talking about here?
I have lost so much fucking honing material to like super high chance rolls that just nope, completely negated. Screw yourself. It hurts. It hurts a lot.
It's yeah. I don't envy you on that one, mate.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
So that basically they got the DLC that's coming, at least the Korean version for sure. Hopefully for us, they also released the June release, which will release
Finally,
tomorrow.
was it releasing tomorrow?
I
Was it
believe it's. Let's see. I've
tomorrow?
got to double check this.
I think it's releasing
Yes,
tomorrow.
yes, June 30th,
They
12 a.m. Pacific
finally.
time. Downtime's expected to last 4 hours. They are finally releasing this. We thought it was going to come last week. It didn't, and then they came out with a thing that was like, by the way, it's going to be next week. Uh,
Finally releasing Vicrus.
yes.
Vicus.
So
Ah,
this will add a new Legion raid, uh, which I will not be able to participate in because it has a minimum gear score of 1430. How you people manage to get up to that level of
oof.
gear score is fucking beyond me. But like,
Just
more
throw
power to
money at the
you.
game until it allows you to do it. That's what
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
That's what most. I think that's what a lot of people did, and I think that's what a lot of people are
Mhm.
angry at people doing. But hey,
The
developers got to eat to some
Yeah,
degree.
yeah. So the
At
Vicus
least this
Legion
isn't
Commander raid would
Diablo
be a good
Immortal.
one.
Hey,
The
hey, Ace. At least this isn't Diablo Immortal. Like
True, 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 very true.
so there is that.
Uh, so the Covetous Wings will be available for loot from Vicus for relic gear. I don't know
Ooh.
what that is per se, but um, I
I
like
mean,
you know I like wing
it
sets.
it's a Korean MMO. Like I think a lot of people would maybe think like, oh, it's going to be like some a
Yeah,
wing decal or something like that. But
um,
like it turns out being actual wings that you can fly around. That causes you to fly around. I don't know. Like I've seen some mad stuff on Lost Ark, so I don't. I can't expect to think how the developers are thinking on this. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know.
Oh yeah. So they're also adding in oh fuck, they need to give me a break with these names. Kungalanium, I
Which one?
think.
Oh yeah. Oh god. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Kungalanium
Yeah.
Guardian Raid is being added for 1460 gear score. Again, another thing I can't participate in. Because it's way higher level than me, even though I'm in tier 3, I'm not that high up. I focused on getting many alts into tier 3 so that I could then raise one at a time very rapidly with all of the resources. If that makes any
Yeah.
sense. Um, and like in order, they'll all get buffed up to super high levels because obviously like the first one has a bunch of shards prepped for its thing, but like other ones have very few that because they just made it to tier 3. Anyways, continuing on. Throne Spire is here. 1325 requirement. It's basically the T3 tower. Um, if you've done
That's
the
a really
if you
cool.
haven't if you're in tier 3 and you haven't done either of
Yeah.
the other towers, you've probably done something wrong or you've just spent more money on materials than you needed to.
It's a very atmospheric thing to do as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a good time.
It's a really cool thing.
Um let's see. From there, Heartbeat Island, new event with festival tokens to exchange for goodies, is being added in. The Stronghold honing buff for up to 1415 will unlock at 1460. Like,
Sorry, no, I
just let me just like stop gating this shit way higher than people. Like, that's bullshit. Like, um, 2 growth packs are now available. There's one for 500 royal crystals and 1,000 royal crystals, and they give various honing materials in different like packs, basically. So you get to pick like what you get out of them, and you know which tier those items are. So like you can use them for tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3, which I think is valuable. Um, I keep having something like
so
update on
so
the screen, and it's
so
like throwing me
so,
off.
so yeah.
Um,
Oh, what
uh,
was the island thing that like was fucking hilarious that they had?
I was the chicken
Well,
like Chicken Island or something like that.
yeah, like
That
so
was
I
a
was
good
I was
one.
looking at that kind of like heartbeat island thing. I was like, oh, there's probably some absurdity, kind of crazy, ridiculous thing in there. And I'm like reading it and looking at it and kind of going, that's just like not. There's nothing really absurd about it. It's just like some dancing and some stuff, right?
Hmm.
So I'm like, oh, the absurdity is gone from Lost Ark. And then I look back and I look at the Prime Gaming loot and I'm like, oh, there it is. There's the
Hmm.
absurdity back again.
Yep.
The
Yep.
fucking
It's
penguin suits. There you
yep.
go. Yep.
Go make sure
Yep.
to pick
That's
up
the
your
one.
penguin suits if you have Prime Gaming. That's very much a thing. Um,
Oh god.
you know, it also comes with so the contents for it include the penguin chest skin, and the amethyst shard pack, as well as I think 5 days of crystalline aura. So like it's actually worth the you know,
That's not bad at all.
especially if you have Prime, like it's free stuff. So make sure to check that out. Um,
Yeah.
so
There's
let's
the
see.
absurdity.
Additionally, in this patch, we're gonna have the Umar and Shadow of Stern costume sets, as well as the
Mhm.
leopard pets will be in the store. Um,
Nice.
there is now a new CAPTCHA system for bot prevention. Uh, this has both been made into many memes, and probably one of the most necessity things that we could possibly have, because
I
of the game's prolific issue with bots. Uh,
I kind of feel like I'm not gonna lie, like I've done enough captures for enough websites that I feel like, you know, there's enough data there to run AI to be able to do capture systems perfectly fucking fine.
Yeah. So the new
You
capture
know?
system is an ongoing bot prevention measure. Sometimes when entering a new zone, you'll be asked to submit a text captcha response within several minutes. So
Yeah.
basically, like as you're transitioning through the world, and you uh, do various things to bounce between zones, that's going to be your hang up point. Now, I would argue that that's probably a relatively simple thing for bot coders to make their way around, because now you told them where to look and when it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So now all they've got to do is set it to identify when that window pops up off of a pixel reader, and not giving them ideas. I'm just telling you how their programs work at this point. Not that I'm a botter, but that I've done the research to understand how these systems work and like actually respect the pure amount of work that has to go in to create some of these botting programs, because they've done some pretty impressive shit with them. Um, anyways, they have
If
refreshed.
you think,
So tomorrow, instead of Thursday, which is the normal. Wait, no, Thursday is the normal day for this. What are they?
what are they talking
Oh, they're
about?
refreshing the daily login reward track. Sorry.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's a whole different thing. Yeah. Which is great. New store purchases will have a 3-day cooldown before being relisted, traded, and mailed. Meaning if you buy something off the store, you can't instantly trade it to somebody else for gold. Which
Are
I
they,
firmly believe in.
yeah, are they adjusting the font down in terms of damage, like the damage kind of like numbers?
I don't know.
I don't know. I kind
Like
of feel
maybe
like maybe they.
I would hope that they would give us the option to adjust the size.
Oh yeah, that would
You
be
know,
really
like
nice.
that would be so much better. Like size and color. You know,
Yeah,
given like I play with a pink cursor, so like
I was literally
don't
thinking
judge me.
like
It's
hot
very
pink.
easy to see. Like there's one color that doesn't naturally occur in Lost Ark all that often, and it's fucking pink, bright, hot fucking pink. I can find my cursor in a field anywhere. Doesn't matter what's going
I,
on.
I I would laugh if they changed the damage numbers to hot pink now. Like
Oh yeah.
that would be
And of course,
hilarious.
there's going to be a bunch of a variety of bug fixes.
Yeah.
Frankly, the game doesn't have all that many bugs, so like, the bug fixes are a necessity, but in my opinion, like compared to a game like New World, uh, the bug fixes are less impactful.
Well, you have to remember that the game is
Again, this
not
game's been out for
new
2 years,
new.
so
The
like,
game's like
yeah. Um,
yeah.
give New World 2 years, and all of a sudden the patch notes are going to be pretty mundane.
Yeah,
Like,
it's gonna be like, oh,
yeah.
there's not too many bugs here and there.
And I mean, even then,
But
like New World's off-cycle patches, where they're just like the weekly maintenance, you know, it's only like 4 or 5 things at this point. And even then,
yeah.
most of them are just, oh, okay, yeah, that works.
Hmm.
Um, which yeah, so that covers Lost Ark. Which
Yeah.
yeah, plenty to do. It all starts tomorrow. Downtime should end roughly when I start work. So I'm looking forward to that. Next month is the new class. So the
Mhm.
Arcanist Mage class is coming out. I'm already prepping materials and identifying how many shards and everything that I need to get that character straight into tier 3. They're gonna skip so many areas. Yeah. Uh, so yeah, again, Lost Ark. I'm still enjoying playing it. I'm still enjoying playing New World. I'm playing actually more New World now than I used to be. Um,
Mhm.
but the more the better, the more the merrier.
Yeah.
It's going well. Um, let's transition to the other game that we play. Um, of
Good
many,
old Star Citizen.
yeah.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm sure there's some people who see the thing in the bottom of our screen all the time, and they go, "Try Star Citizen with our referral code." Here's the deal. You don't want to do it yet. Save that referral code. You're going to need it. Because July 7th and beyond, and for like a couple of weeks, if you use that code, you will get from the developers a free, what was it? Sorry, I gotta find it. It's one of the land ones. Um, it's like a hover quad, I think. Finding it. Um,
uh, Drake Dragonfly.
yes, Drake Dragonfly
Yes.
is the one. Yep. So that'll very much be worthwhile. And I believe there's also going to be a fly free event at the same time. So like, great.
The Drake Dragonfly is
there.
fucking cool, by the way. It is essentially like, you know, the it is essentially the kind of like, how would you describe it? Kind of similar to like in um uh what is it? What would you how
It's
would
like a
you
land. It's
describe?
similar to a land speeder
Yeah, like
in Star
in Star
Wars.
Wars.
Um,
Yeah.
it's
Or like those
a little bit
hover
wider
bikes
and
that
a
they
little bit of
have.
a different, little bit of a different like feel, but it's hovers,
Kind of like those hover
no
bikes in
wheels,
Return of the Jedi, right?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, some very similar to that kind of thing. So
Yep.
of course you want one.
Yes. Very much so.
So hold on using that code till July 7th.
Yes. It'll be very worth it. Trust me. Um. So Inside Star Citizen took a look at the new Rex sites coming in 3.17.2, which is currently in patch watch. So it means it is
Ooh.
imminent. Which is good news. Which
Yeah.
means they're relatively confident in the build that they have. I think that everyone out there in the history of the game's development is sitting here going, although we want the new content, give it a week. one or two more patches to the current version can't hurt. Don't rush
Yeah.
it. Higher quality, less frequency. We know this is going to be a stopgap. It's going to keep us busy for a while so that we can wait for 3.18, which is going to have the cargo refactor and all that. Totally happy with waiting.
Yeah.
What I'm not happy
Like,
with is super bad latency and like stupid crazy bugs. Like,
iron out the bugs that
yeah,
like aggravate people the most, the most often as well. Like,
yes,
those are the things
yes.
that grate on people the most when it comes to like consistency, like constantly playing Star Citizen. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Um, so that said, in the 3.17.2 patch, is going to be the Horizon FPS event, first person shooting.
ooh,
It's going to be a
yeah.
good one. Like, I highly recommend people check this one out.
I you know, hate me. I take offense to Orison being called Horizon, because if you spell Horizon, it's with a Z. So Horizon without the H should be with a Z, not an S. So with an S, it's Orison. Fucking say it right. Not to you. I'm not saying. I'm not specifically saying UAs. I'm literally saying to devs, because like I know that the devs said it, Horizon, but it's Orison, for fuck's sake.
Yes. So
I know I'm being pedantic, but yeah.
so I'm going to throw up a video here.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there's some really cool looking stuff coming in 17.2, by the way.
So these are the new Rex and Derelicts. This is the new the Derelict uh, colonial outposts, which basically they take the reclaimer
kind of the
wrecks and turn them into their own landing site with a bunch of NPCs, stuff to do, quests related to them, the whole works. Uh,
yeah.
Basically, in my opinion, this is a pretty solid addition to the game. Great way to reuse assets that they were reusing anyways, and really add to it. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
um, I also think that this is a good showcase of like the new derelict wrecks, which are going to complement the caterpillar wrecks that have been out for a while, but are really going to help you know create more of a sense of wonder out in the universe. Um,
Yeah.
and give explorers that additional thing to find and explore and frankly loot everything valuable that can possibly be pulled off of it. You know,
Th- There's there's not only there going to be like planetary kind of like wrecked sites for you to explore, but like there's also apparently going to be like space based ones as well.
yes,
So that's going to be interesting. They may even have booby traps in them as well. So
yep. There are some comical things that are potentially going to happen in this patch. The Mustang Alpha had a quality of life adjustment to it, where it's going to be able to move around boxes. Um,
yeah, that looks interesting.
they
That's
have
actually
an inelegant solution in the short term, and obviously a much better one is coming. Let me find the image
it.
here.
Yeah, the picture of
Uh,
that, like to be completely honest, it actually looks like a bay that could hold SCU containers. Like,
yeah,
um, so if that becomes a thing, then that's actually really useful.
yeah,
Because like honestly, if you know, it can't. It's typically packaged as a starter package ship, right? Like a starter ship. Um, and in that kind of sense, if you're starting, box missions are kind of like very much an entry level sort of like mission to do for you know for money in the game, right? So it's one of those things where the starter ship isn't really designed for beginner missions. Um, that seems really odd. That seems really completely against the entire design and principle of what a starter ship should be. So having like the fact that they're putting that a bay in there for for box missions,
uh,
or that can facilitate box missions at least, it is fantastic. Like it is really
yes.
fantastic.
So here's the part on the Orison event. Um, so
Yeah.
basically, not all is well in the Cloud City. Uh, it is an active war zone with the gangs, um, and
And
I really think that they did a great job with this zone because I've been through it already, and it's just oof, so good.
apparently it's not super scripted either. Like it's very much kind of like you explore and
That
find,
wasn't there before.
find you explore and you find kind of like things that you need to find in order to progress to the next kind of thing. Because like the one thing which we've been able to figure out with the Orison Ninetales kind of combat site, FPS combat site, is that there are three separate areas, um, which clearly require something for you to do, for you to find, something for you to solve or fix, or something of that form, in order to progress further and further into it. Nobody, as far as I know, nobody's ever seen past the first one, because things aren't there to actually allow you to progress, unless obviously you're in the super restrictive, um, like early bird kind of testing groups. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting things to come with that, because those are big areas to explore, big areas to
Yes.
PvP in, big areas to. I think if anything, like those areas are going to end up being like PvP VE areas, like
Mhm.
You know, you'll be doing PvE stuff, but like you'll be potentially, coming across people who are doing the same thing, and you will be able to shoot and kill them and loot them.
That said, you still gain crime stats for it. So like
Yep.
it's
Yep.
not a full on free for all, but it is, it is of course open to be attacked.
Open. Yeah.
Like it is a weapons
Oh
free
yeah.
zone. So yeah, I'm very much
Ooh.
looking forward to that. I think that this is going to be a pretty solid addition to the game. Um, you know,
Talking about PvP areas or areas where you can PvP, there's going to be some events coming up this week.
yes. For
Mm.
this week, they're going to be doing the Ninetales lockdown events as well as Jumptown 2.0 events. So keep an eye out for those. They've posted the schedule basically, because
Hmm.
obviously these events happen at certain times, which in my opinion is a good thing. It's going to keep people focused on the right things at the right time. Um,
Well, the Ninetales stuff generally tends to happen in particular times, like but Jumptown like Jumptown kind of like it starts up or is available for people to play from Saturday. Apparently.
yes, I know all of the A2 owners out there heard Jumptown and went, "Sorry, what?"
Ooh, ooh.
Sounds like many kills. um,
Sounds like I got to drop some bombs on some motherfuckers.
yep. So obviously, Jumptown is very susceptible to the Hercules A2 Moabs. Um, they can basically clear the zone of people pretty quickly. Um, so
Well, Jumptown
that's
generally.
always an interesting one to see. The Ninetales events are a little bit more. They're not really. They're more of an in space thing, lesser so
Yeah,
than on the ground. So it makes the A2 not really a huge threat. Um,
no.
that said, it's impossible to profit that much with an A2 without being able to hold the ground. So just because you can
Hmm.
kill everybody doesn't mean they're coming back, and they're gonna be
And
pissed and looking for an A1, A2
I
there.
was gonna say,
Like,
like they'll be coming back, but they'll be coming back pissed at you.
yep, they're gonna come back with ships that can kill an A2 real quick.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so that's very much a thing. I
I
think
you
the
know what
Ninetales
you know
combat events.
what's
I'm looking forward to those.
you know what interestingly the Ninetales event not the Ninetales events the Jumptown events have actually had uh occur like you don't generally tend to see this that often, but people using some of the ground based like anti-air vehicles. Like, I've seen, like, on the last Jumptown, that occurred, like, people actually finding legitimately decent use and decent kinda gameplay, literally shooting people down with some of the ground attack vehicles. Or the ground like, the ground to air kind of attack, vehicles and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually been pretty fucking cool to
I
see.
actually saw a good
Fairly
video.
effective.
I saw a good video today of an 890 jump with three tanks on top, and the tanks were just dominating. Like it was actually quite comical. They had no issue competing in any way with in space,
Very
up on the deck of an 890, just dumpstering, ship after
that
ship. It was pretty comical to
that
watch.
that is funny.
Oh man. Um, so obviously, as we mentioned, CIG just dropped patch watch post on Spectrum, which means that they are in the process of getting the final patches ready for Star Citizen. So we should start seeing that. We should start seeing more news on this soon. Um, I would totally recommend. I would totally recommend Star Citizen. Some things to note about it is that it is an alpha. Expect there to be bugs. Remember, this is the thing to know about Star Citizen prior to buying is that you're buying towards the vision of what it's going to be, knowing that the content that's there is only some of it. Now, there's
Yeah.
plenty to do in my opinion. Like it's a great space sim. It's got plenty of content. It's got a good, robust mission system. You know, that said, like there are going to be times where you jump in your ship, you're in your hangar, you start your ship up, and it's ready to fly, and for no reason it blows up. Like,
Yep,
like
that experience, and
that
I've
said,
it.
like I the best way I can put this is I just put in another several $100 into another ship 2 weeks ago. So I would totally say if you're looking to start the game, it's worth it. That said, let me get that free fly information because I saw that.
Yeah,
um
it's so
it's
it is a free fly from the July 7th through to July 18th.
yes. um so like and during that time, so the referral code we have up on the stream, if you use that referral code from July 7th through the 18th, you'll also get a Drake hover bike thing. I can't remember its freaking name.
Dragonflight.
Dragonfly, yeah. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I've owned four of them at one point. Like, you'd think I'd remember the name, but
yeah, yeah.
so but
So,
basically, if you wait until the
so
7th, you can fly the ships for free, try the game for free. I think that's a good opportunity to test it out before you buy it. Like,
also specifically to Zekron, like the Mustang is like when the 317 2 patch comes, like the Mustang is getting a
yes,
an additional bay where you can actually put boxes for box missions, because like
yes. So
that's one of the things that there's always kind of like plagued people who ended up purchasing the
yes.
Mustang.
So the other
You
thing,
get
the
some
other thing you
additional
can
shit.
do is you can join an organization. Some of them are small, some of them are big. Some of them are tens of thousands of people, and they've got people like me who have these ships that when they finally release my Polaris is a like 16-person crewed ship. So like you know I'm looking for people who are gonna want to
There,
fly in the bigger ships but may have only bought the $45 one, like that, and that's
there's
totally
also
fine. Like, and there's people that'll just like they want to run higher level missions, but they need people to go sit in turrets, and they'll share the income from running these high level missions with you. um
I I
yeah,
I don't want to say that there is a method and a technique to kind of like, you know, get people to give you money, but there's definitely ways of getting people to give you money.
if you tell
If you
people
know
you're
if you know
new,
how to
they'll
do it.
probably throw you some credits. Like,
Yeah. There
don't
was
expect it, but like,
I
yeah.
I recall seeing on the on Reddit, actually, someone saying someone mentioning an anecdote basically of um someone in global chat basically saying that that a bug unfortunately made them lose 27 million credits, alpha UEC. um and at some point, clearly somebody, you know thought that this was a really sucky thing to happen, and so they gifted him, or gifted whoever it was, uh,
Mhm.
uh, like 20 something million credits, or 27 million alpha UEC.
Oh yeah.
Um, to
And
which
so
that
you can
person,
also buy other ships in game as well. Like,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
totally a
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Without
To
spending any
which
more money, you can totally do that.
to which that same person who claimed that they'd lost, 27 million alpha UEC, claimed that they finally been able to purchase their the Hammerhead with in-game credits.
Yeah.
But basically, just straight up lied about the fact that they lost credits just to get somebody to give them like enough to purchase a Hammerhead in game.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
the other thing is you can actually rent ships in game too.
yeah.
Like not for real money, but for like in-game credits. So like if you want to try out some of the larger ships, you don't need the full purchase price. You can
There's only
totally
certain
just,
ships that
yeah.
there's only certain ships that you can do it that you can rent out, but like there's still some fairly large ones that you can. So
I do have a preference towards the Aurora as well, in my opinion. Like the Mustang is a great ship. I think it's out of the two, I think it's probably the better at like ship versus ship stuff. But the utility
in
that comes with the
space,
Aurora is a bit better.
yeah. In space, the Aurora is a little bit better in terms of like PvP. But when it comes to actually atmospheric flight and stuff, like the Mustang beats the shit out of it. I'm sorry.
Um,
The Aurora sucks so much in atmospheric flight. It's not even funny.
so yeah,
Uh
like I 100% like if you're looking to try out Star Citizen, uh, it's totally worth giving it a try. Uh,
yeah.
for $45, you can at least get your $45 out of it. And that on top of that, like again, if you want to wait for the fly free from July 7th through July 18th, that's probably the better time to do it. And if you use anyone's referral code at that time, both you get and we get one of the Drake
Dragonflies.
dragonflies. Yes,
You always
I
forget
forgot
the
it
name.
4 times in one show. Like,
It's all right. I literally have the picture right
oh,
here and with the referral bonus thing as well. Like, yeah.
yeah.
So Drake Dragonfly is cool. Like, I think isn't there a way for the Drake Dragonfly to actually like go into space as well? Like, or have they
I
not
think you
like
can spawn the
developed that?
dragonfly in on the pads at spaceports.
Oh, nice. And they just fly
So
about
like
with it.
yeah, you can just fly right off the pad.
That's fucking
If I
hilarious.
remember right. Um, so like it really there really is a lot of stuff to do. I've thrown in probably an inordinate amount of money towards this, like probably way more than I should. Uh, I own
I
a
always laugh at you
Polaris,
as
a
to how
Banu
much you put in.
Merchantman, and several other ships. All with lifetime insurance on them. Uh, but yeah,
And to be fair, like most of the money that you put down is more along the lines of lifetime insurance on stuff that like is
yes.
pretty sizable and would be an absolute fucking pain in the ass to try and grind out each time you've lost it. So yeah,
So we don't currently put the show on any podcasting apps. We should.
I
We've
mean
been working
there's
on potentially doing that for a while,
a
but
clear example why we should because there's somebody clearly people would want to.
yeah,
But we
I
can
feel like
definitely do that. Like
we need to
I've
do that. We could upload different sections,
done
as
that.
different things, so that people aren't like trying to surf. Like I know for me, like one of the biggest annoyances is that like a podcast released a new episode and it's like 3.5 hours long, and you're trying to scroll through on your phone, and like I mean I've got fucking oven mitts for hands, so like my sausage fingers are a click away from a 15-minute jump in time. you know uh but yeah,
So true.
that would be a good thing for us to do, and we could have different
I,
playlists
I'm
for
I'm
different parts of the show to showcase like what's happening in each game.
I, I'm just gonna say this because I know I've seen someone experience like doing it the wrong way. But if we do not host. We use a third party hoster because
Oh yeah, no, yeah,
if we host on AWS servers and stuff like the the cost ramps up
yeah.
frighteningly
It's like what is
fast.
it like last FM, or there's a service that Anchor FM or something like that. that
Mm.
you use that will broadcast it to like 15
All
different
sorts, yeah.
podcasting places that accept podcasts like Spotify and all that. Like you got to set up those
Yeah.
accounts too, but like you upload it in one spot and it'll three sheets to the wind everywhere. Um, but, but yeah,
Well, we've yeah. I mean, we've put enough effort to make sure that like the show like looks and sounds like decent enough. So like,
um,
I
the
guess we do the final
ironically
little bit, right?
we've thrown so much money back into the show that we actually just formed an LLC. And like the starting capital after 2.5 years of running the show uh it's
Yeah.
like sub $1,000. Like, so like because I mean like with for instance the beacon mic that's sitting in front of me, I got a beacon mix create in front of me. um you know I'm sure we've bought stuff from a cloud setup at some point. I can't remember what, but
Oh yeah, yeah. You know, I
uh
mean, I'm running a different mic now. I'm running the Shure MV7 now. So like,
and
you know, it's sounding pretty nice. It's sounding pretty good. I've got a WaveX lower that was purchased separately, but um,
oh
I'm kind of I do want to mix create, but like the amount of times that you've kind of gone, for fuck's sake, Beacon, your software sucks. I'm like,
like so
maybe I
today's
shouldn't.
show was a little bit special with Beacon. I
Yeah,
am happy that I received support from them very rapidly. So
that's good to see. That is
um
definitely good to see.
so yeah, so back onto Star Citizen here. They've noticed in the current patch that they're working on to get released. The most notable improvements are to actor downstream networking, claiming to resolve a lot of the jitteriness and unnatural movement that you may see when players and NPCs move around. It can manifest as kind of a jitteriness, uh, but also like looking like rubber banding or desyncs,
I'm
which
sure
they
you guys
don't
have all
want.
seen
You
this.
know,
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have all seen that like before. Things like players that or especially if you're playing with a friend and stuff like that. Like their movements seeming very erratic and very jittery. Yeah,
yep,
hopefully that gets smoothed out.
yep. So the Van Duel Blade is going to be receiving a pretty nice buff, bringing it more in line with something like the Gladius. Um,
Hmm.
so it's going to be a competitive ship to fly for a variety of different things.
Well, it kind
It's
of
got some
needs to be.
it's kind of a like, and the Gladius is in the same boat where like it's got a good flight profile in and out of atmosphere. Um,
Yeah. But the
so
van the Vandal blade needs to be kind of like the Vandal's version of a Gladius, right? Like
yeah,
this
oh yeah,
it's basically the go to standard fighters of those respective armies or respective navies as such, right?
yep,
So it needs to be able to perform, you
yes.
know.
The as we showed earlier, there was a comical issue with the Mustang. If you use that as your starter package of choice, they realized you couldn't do box missions with the 3.7.2 patch. At the time, obviously, they're looking to fix this. They added a new mission box cargo compartment to store them. It is a very inelegant solution compared to the long-term
It's
solution that
roomy.
they've identified.
It's
They're
roomy.
hoping that that won't be the end solution. That should be something that gets patched before it releases. But they wanted to make sure that that was still a possibility. Um,
It's nice.
yeah. Aside from that, CIG also released what's going on in July on this month in Star Citizen, which is
Hmm.
not a short list. 3.17.2 is expected to come out in July, so like I think it's a pretty safe bet that it's not happening tomorrow. Uh, the Nine Tails lockdown, they're going to be continuing to do those. The Jumptown reopens, they're going to continue to do those. The Foundation Festival, this is why the free fly event is on as well. Um, In the verse, the Foundation Festival is a month-long civic program that aims to strengthen community spirit by encouraging citizens and civilians to volunteer with local and imperial organizations here on Earth. We're celebrating our incredible Star Citizen community all month long, starting July 7th. There'll be updates to the guide system, org highlights, exclusive earnable free ship paints, 8 of them, in fact.
Ooh.
So that's very much going to be a good thing.
I always like me some more skins.
Oh yeah. So the fly for free event. Uh, need a few more friendlies on your wing. Alongside the Foundation Festival, we're running the latest Fly Free event. Get all of your prospective co-pilots. Know that it's free to jump into the verse from July 7th through July 18th. They're going to have more details on this soon. As we've stated a number of times, there is a referral bonus in play. Basically, both the person you refer and you get a Drake Dragonfly for free, which, for the record, is like a $45 land speeder.
And space speed.
Let me showcase this because I think this is I think this is worth showcasing here.
Yeah.
This is the ship that we're talking about. It's very much the speeder bike type feel with a little bit different of a look, but like if you know the speeder bike from Star Wars, very similar feel, hovers off the ground and flies around at like ridiculous speeds.
Not quite pod racing, but it might as well be pod racing.
Yes. Yes.
Just saying.
It's a very very fun thing to have, and I've enjoyed it every time I've used it. So,
and people do people have used the what is it, the river on Microtech to basically do races.
Yep.
So there's that.
So important to know that's coming. Basically, my main thing that I want to tell people about is that if you're going to use the referral code, use it between July 7th and the 18th. Like, I know what's up there right now. Write it down, put it on a post-it note, and say, hey, July 7th, I want to try Star Citizen. This is the code I'm going to enter when I do that, because you're going to end up with a $45 ship for free. I'm going to end up with a $45 ship for free, and we're both happy. Everyone's a winner. So that's another really cool thing. One of the other really cool things, especially if you follow the subreddit, because these often get posted there, is the Battle of the Bricks. Star Citizen versus EVE Online, basically in a battle of who can build the coolest looking Lego starships. So recreation of in-game ships with Legos. There's an actual like Lego Brickmaster program that enables you to piece by piece put it together, 3D model your ship, and yeah, like it's actually really cool, and many people have put in like actual sizable effort. Some of them with multiple thousands of pieces.
So I have made Lego starships before out of real Lego, like physically. Back when I was young, I definitely did make a Lego version of the Enterprise. It went as well. Like I actually made it kind of thing, right? It went as well as the Enterprise on Generations, to be completely honest.
Yes.
The saucer did separate from the engineering section, and neither side had a good time. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so this should be a fun event.
Looking a little bit further out, the Ship Showdown will start up again in August. The Ship Showdown is basically the community voting in kind of matchups of different ships on what is the best ship in the game, or what is the coolest ship in the game. Occasionally, the results are really cool. And then
That's
again, there's things
surprising.
like last year where the Argo Cargo won because people are dicks and
Mm.
didn't choose the Carrack because trolling is apparently. Listen, if you're going to compare the two, the Argo Cargo is not a cooler ship than the Carrack. Like, just
Hey,
blanket
style.
statement, hot take. Like, you know,
A
yeah.
larger percentage in terms of volume of that ship is, functional than than you know.
The Argo Cargo is only functional if you are loading something in the same area that it's currently in, because it doesn't even have a star drive. Like, you
Hey,
cannot go into
I mean,
quantum. Like,
yeah, but
yeah.
more of the ship is functional at this moment in time than the
Also,
carrot.
also coming up, they don't have the date for this, but Talk Like a Pirate Day is coming up.
Uh,
Um, and I'm
it
pretty sure that
literally.
that's just added as, a comical thing to have at the bottom of their thing.
I mean, there's going to
But
be
for those
contests and
looking for the
events and stuff,
actual
but
day, the International Talk Like a Pirate Day is Monday, September 19th. So, um,
I'm
just
not sure
because they
whether
put
that's
it
going to
there,
land
though.
at that point. I don't think that's going to land exactly then.
I mean, that's the International Day based on Google. But
Yeah, but it doesn't say in talk like a. It's not international talk like a pirate day. It's just talk like a pirate day.
I would assume
But
it. That they're talking about August in the prior one, so I would assume September's just after that. So either way,
okay,
there's
okay.
plenty to look forward to in Star Citizen. I think we're kind of in this exciting phase right now of you know what's 3.17.2 gonna feel like. Um, because obviously, like, there's patches that are truly great. There's patches that are not. you know, uh,
Truly great and or truly suck. Like
and then
either way.
there's a whole spectrum in between. So we'll know probably day one. Um, you know, day one on the subreddit will basically tell you how many 30Ks to expect.
Oh
uh,
god.
so
30Ks right now really suck because they take forever to actually occur, and you
yeah,
if you know what to look for, you know that a 30K is incoming. And it's not like, oh, it's incoming, and then like 20 seconds later, it's like, boom, 30K.
yeah,
It's like,
it'll be
oh,
like
a
10
30K
minutes
is
of
coming.
shit going
Like,
weird.
I'll go like fucking, go for a run or fucking, I don't know, like go do something for like a half hour, come back and be like, oh, it still hasn't hit yet, but it's on its way. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
Completely ridiculous.
oh yeah. So, for the last part of the show, I'm gonna move us back over into the talk shows, um, and podcasts,
Oh,
section,
section.
for Twitch,
Hmm.
and we're gonna be
Okay.
talking about. Um,
Oh,
we're gonna be
oh.
doing something very different. I've got my hands on a couple of new devices. Seeing as it's summer, and I, like many people out there, have a combination of a little bit of extra weight, and a prior heat-related illness, or injury. Um,
Plus,
so
you like gaming.
plus, I like gaming. So naturally, I have kind of a sedentary lifestyle, one could say. Um, and this leads me to sweating profusely when I'm outside because um, yeah, um,
Because it's
I'm
fucking hot outside in summer.
I need to studio mode this. Um, I didn't make an appropriate thing for this.
Ah, right, I see.
Because I need my camera to cover most of it
We
because they're not going
we
to want to see yours
maximize.
for this necessarily.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
there's no point. Like you've got the products there to look at. So
yeah,
yeah, makes sense.
nothing against McLeod, just so
I didn't buy the shit from Amazon, so yeah, fair enough.
yes. So all right. So here's the deal. This is a new section called high tech, low tech. Uh,
I would like to ask, guys, did you buy it using the our referral code?
I didn't.
Ah, you
I
suck.
we don't get anything off of me because I'm the one who signed up.
Oh yeah, no, that's a good
Yeah.
point. That's a good
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
so I have in my hands two devices. Both of them are designed to help keep you cool in the summer uh, in various different ways. Now, one of these, the low tech option, is about $14 on sale. Gives you about 8 hours on the lowest setting of two fans blowing on your face, or wherever you
Okay.
want to point. So throw this
It
on.
does look fairly. It
Look
does look fairly low
ridiculous.
tech. Well,
I mean,
what's
it's about
no?
as
But
low
what's
tech as it gets. You hold the button for 3 seconds, it turns on, and you can point the things wherever you want. Um, as somebody with the beard, I can tell you there is a little bit of anxiety about having moving blades next to hair, but they're far enough away that and they've got little guards on them, so I'm not too worried about it. But you can kind of point these wherever. Like I tried this on a walk today, and sure, it looks ridiculous, but I actually stay pretty cool. So if you don't mind the room temperature air, getting tossed at you, by two fans, or having two fans immediately below your face, it's relatively quiet. I don't know if you guys can actually hear it on stream or not. But like I felt like this was a pretty good option. There's a variety of different settings, so like you can turn it all the way up, and I'm sure at this point you could probably hear the fan is
I mean, I can hear it, but that's because I'm
like
hearing your headset mic. But I was checking the stream. It's
but
actually
like
not that
it's a
noticeable on
pretty
stream.
decent amount of air coming through too. Like
Yeah.
let's point out my forehead and see if we can get my hair to. Can't even see. I don't have long enough hair for it to blow around. Um, but like there's a decent amount of air coming through for $14. This isn't a bad option, which leads us to the next question: is more expensive better? Let me turn this off. Now, naturally, when you go
I
out
mean,
looking
naturally, more
for
expensive is better.
when you go out looking for something more premium, uh, you can find a cheap version of something, and you can find an expensive version of something. And I came across the Coolify 2s. And this is an interesting concept, and I feel like I'm both the target market, but also the worst possible person to demo this particular device. So, first, I want to tell you what it does that the other one doesn't. So, instead of having fans, you can see that there are fans inside, but they're very well guarded. There's no open fans to worry about hair getting caught in or anything like that. Um, and it kind of blows air through these vent holes on either side up around your face, or that's what it's supposed to do. I'll show you why that's an issue for me particularly in a moment. But,
Hmm.
and I'm blanking on what the technology is for this. On the inside, you'll see these two kind of metallic surfaces. Um, each of those surfaces has the tech that basically you run electricity through it. One side gets hot, the other side gets cold. Run electricity the other way, one side gets cold, and the other side gets hot. Which means these have a cooling function and a heating function. So it's usable in cold and warm weather. Um, and these metal pads basically rest on. Make sure I put it on right here. They basically rest on your neck. It's obviously a lot more low profile than uh, than the other one. It's it looks a lot like he's just wearing a headset around his neck. Uh, but those pads basically touch the back of your neck, up to the sides, And when you turn it on, it has 3 different settings, and within seconds, I can feel the back of my neck is cold. Um, which I tried this on a walk, and there are 2 things that I noticed. One, this device is not nearly big enough for me. Um, you know, I have like I think a lot like oftentimes the scale of things is often not like there's no perspective with Twitch on how large somebody is. Uh,
Yeah, that is an issue.
here's a regular can of soda. I can palm a regular can of soda easily. Like, you know, like I've got giant hands. Now, equate that out to my neck. I've got a big neck. I'm okay with that. I'll survive. But what I was expecting from what I saw online was something a little bit bigger. And when I say bigger, one of the biggest problems is that the airflow starts. We turn it up to get the best measurement of this. Starts here, which is about the back of my ears, and goes basically to the square back of my neck, which again, not bad, but also if you're sweating profusely from your face and and all that, it's not really going to help you. It may keep your internal temperature colder by actually reducing the temperature. And I can tell you on the high mode here, the back of my neck is fucking frozen. Like, I wouldn't wear these for very long on the highest mode. Like, they've only got a couple hours worth of battery life at the highest mode, so like, not my suggestion.
What concerns me a little bit is throwing that into the heating mode. How hot does it get on your neck, and is it gonna burn people?
So it doesn't get super hot, but like if you've ever used like a car seat warmer, the hottest setting is generally, I'm gonna go with, not the most comfortable thing in the world. Like it's that measure of like like for when it comes to seat warmers, it's that measure of like, did I just piss myself? Like like what just happened here? Like and like if you generally you throw it on the hottest mode so that it heats up, and then you trim it back to hey, I want this to actually be a moderate temperature, keep me warm but not asses of fire warm. So now obviously this isn't the as I mentioned, this isn't the size that I thought it would be. I think that its novelty is interesting. I think that in practice, it has a couple of challenges. And I'm going to quick show. I have to open the image in another tab so that you guys can't see my like login information for
and additional random stuff that would
so you can see for her, like, these tips could practically touch. She's clearly got a tiny ass neck. Me, she's like fucking, if I was trying to make them touch, like I'm dead if they touch. Like, like it. This.
Yeah,
there's
you're
no
pretty fucked
here. Like, so this really leads to the question of, is something like this worth the money? Which, as I mentioned, our low tech option is $14, which I can tell you this was actually pretty comfortable. I got some strange looks from people, but I also had somebody come up to me and ask me where I got it, because they were like, it is 90 degrees and humid. Like, I live in the DC area, so when it gets this warm, everyone hates it. Like whoever decided, like whoever thinks the founding fathers were like an incredibly smart bunch of people, they built the capital city on a swamp.
Yeah.
Like seriously, they built the capital city on a swamp, guys. Like the audacity. You know, I got the same things to say about the people who made Las Vegas. So either way, $14 versus, and I got these on sale. I got these on sale for $150 for the expensive option.
Ooh.
Now, the novelty of my neck being cold, or frankly, I don't think it's really making it to the bloodstream. Let's be real. My neck fat is now chilled. Uh, you know, the novelty of having my neck chilled and air blown up the back of my head, I'm gonna be returning these.
Yeah.
Uh, now, I think that if they were to come out with a version of this that was adjustable, that basically gave me another, 6 inches of adjusting to make them bigger and kind of fit better, like, or
Are
to
you
like, have some kind of like air come up front would be,
are you sure you bought the American one and not the Korean version?
yes, yes, I'm very
Okay.
sure. Uh, now
Just wanted to make sure.
to note, these obviously have a much more substantial battery. They last, about the same amount of time because they're obviously doing a lot more. It's actually cooling the air. It's actually cooling your neck versus our low tech option of just blowing air around. I gotta say, compare the two. You're not getting 100 and what the retail price is $199. I'm sorry, but for $200, go buy several of these. In this case, cheaper is better.
Go buy several of the low tech version and like
And share with your friends because
a
they'll be
deodorant,
jealous.
like
Yeah.
like.
Because
Or
like
what was it? One of those because you can get those. Actually, you can get those like Evian sort of, or like water sort of misting spray things, right? Like
yeah.
basically anything that is
So
pressurized in the
like
can, because once you depressurize it, the can becomes super chilled.
like the
You can do it with like
novelty of being able to push the
yeah,
air like with these for $14, you get to put the air wherever you want. If I wanted to cool the back of my neck, I can cool the back of my neck with this. If I want to cool my face, I can cool my face. If I want to put this down my shirt and air out my shirt, boom, done. Like I'm having a ball here. I'm cool. I'm cool as shit. Like everybody around me is gonna be like, this motherfucker's weird, but like, you know, for $14, I get to choose. I get to, and these last 8 hours on the lowest setting. You don't need to pump it all the way up. Like if you're real hot, like sure, turn it up. You're gonna get, I think, I think they said 4 hours on the highest setting or something like that. Let me double check that.
yeah.
Um, but again, for $14, buy a couple of them. You know,
Yeah.
yeah. So 12 hours of at the lowest setting. Like if you're going on a camping trip and you want to be comfortable, you're a fat guy who, all of your friends have decided to bring you out to the countryside because they either want to kill you or, uh, don't understand that, when they say let's go for a 4 mile hike through the mountains, they don't understand that you're packing, their backpack weight in extra weight in general. Uh, like my favorite conversation that I've ever had with somebody on a hiking trail was they were like, "Oh, I don't know what your problem is. I'm carrying 100 pounds in my bag, or like 50 pounds in their bag, or something like some amount of weight in my bag. Like, oh, it's no big deal." And I'm like, "How much do you weigh before the bag?" They're like, "Oh, 160." Okay, so with the bag, you're 210. Like, you're 210 I'm 330 pounds. I'm still almost two of you. Every step that you go up, I have to bring an extra almost one of you on my back. Like, sure, I'm a little
Yeah.
bit more accustomed to carrying it around, but yeah, I'm probably gonna need a device like this to keep myself from dying on the trail.
You know, it
So,
reminds me of like the that kind of thing reminds me of like when I had the initiative meetup at Brighton like a few years ago, a fair few years ago. Like there, we basically had this like kind of crazy sort of Easter egg hunt thing going on, but it was like a competitive Easter egg hunt because like fucking Eve space nerds are going to be competitive in whatever the fuck we do, right? So we
mm,
might as well make it competitive. And so it was essentially like our alliance leader created like a sort of like an Evish map around Brighton. We basically had to go to various different points, and when we get to it, we had to phone in that we were at a particular location. He'd give us like a task to do, or um like like a puzzle to sort of like solve or something like that. And the idea was like every single one of those that you get points, and there were each ones were like slightly different points based on how far away or how difficult it was to get to, kind of thing. And so obviously you had these groups with like prolific FCs kind of you know um, being really competitive with each other. And I swear to God, we had no like prolific FCs in my group, but we were determined to stick it to our FCs, to our alliance and coalition FCs. And like my group actually did win that, and I ended up getting a competition, a prize of like a few capital ships and stuff. But like, my God, man, was I fucking tired after that.
oh,
It was pretty crazy, but I was determined to make sure that I was not going to be the one the dead weight like of the group. That's the last thing you want to be. That's the last thing you want to be. Like especially as a larger guy, is to be the dead weight of the group. So I was always like the one kind of going like, "Come on, let's go, let's go, let's go." By the end of it, I was fucking dead.
mm-hmm.
It was great though.
You
It
know,
was really really good.
I've resigned myself to the fact where like I'm willing to go on the hike, willing to go through it, willing to do all that. I'm down like that this year. I'm down 20 pounds already. So like I'm shedding
That's
weight
cool.
real quick for other reasons as well. But like you know, I'm willing to go on the hike. I'm willing to go through the pain, but at the same time, I don't want to get shit from people when like I got to take a break. Because if I got to take a break, I got to take a fucking break. Like on top of that, what most people like, oftentimes you guys will hear me refer to my dog who's laying next to me. Uh, uh, he is a 135-pound Bernese Mountain Dog. So mostly black, tricolor with the white feet and brown socks type stuff. Like, it's a really pretty looking dog. That said, he is a double coated dog that is all black. So expecting us to
Mm.
go on a hike on 100-degree day that is humid as fuck, like neither him or I want to do that. Like,
Yep.
yeah.
Too true.
So, so yeah. Um, that said, like, I want your guys' opinion. Should we? Hey, thanks for the cheer, bud.
Cheers.
100
Thank
bits.
you.
Uh, you know,
Always good.
it really is much appreciated. Um, you know,
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Being on a hike like that. Yeah. I'm just seeing if I can find like some.
guys stole your NFT and then blocked you. Oofed.
Ooh. That's not
See, I'm not a fan of crypto in general. Like, I know I should be, but like the reality when it comes to crypto is that it's worth what the next guy is willing to pay. And with like
Yeah,
a lot of like the NFT side of things, uh people bought in for a large amount of money, and all of a sudden, uh all of a sudden the guy, the next time they try and sell it, it's not worth anything. you know and like I always felt like that was, and there's been so many like pump and dump schemes with the different coins and all that. I really do appreciate all the cheers, man. Like,
definitely worthwhile. Cheers,
yeah,
man. So yeah, like, I mean, you know, don't want to sort of put the negative spin on the end of the show, sort of thing. But yeah, crypto has always been one of those sort of things. 'Cause, like, crypto and especially NFTs have always been like one of those things that is, it's a speculation thing. Like, you're speculating on whether something's going to be good or not, and like, a lot of people think that it's always just going to go up, and it's just going to go up, and it's just going to go up, and like that's, you know, it it will come down just, in very much the same way that it goes up, right? So,
um,
it's always a difficult one to know where on the actual, like, where on the roller coaster ride you are actually jumping on, and where you're going to be jumping off, right? So, um, and that's the difficult thing.
oh man. Now, of course,
But
hindsight
yeah.
2020. If you'd have told teenage me to throw $100 at Bitcoin, you know, like I
Mm,
would totally, like I would get a time machine and totally do that. That said, nowadays, like I look at it, I'm like, I just can't, you know, like, and I mean, yeah, like you said, you ran a blockchain company. Like I'm totally 100%, like, from the inside and outside, looking in at crypto from our perspective, and it's interesting to see it from the perspective of somebody on the inside, that there are so many issues with crypto, and you know like it's a lot of the challenges about like the unregulated nature of it, um,
yeah.
or very loosely regulated nature of it, really are a challenge, especially when it comes to NFTs, where like in order to mint the NFT, you don't even have to prove that you own the image, which is
Yeah.
which is a huge problems. Um, you got a 15-minute, you or 15 sec, yeah, link it. Let me
Yeah, yeah.
take a look.
All good. I don't think the bot will attack you if you link it. If it does, then I'll hang on. Let me just, uh is it permit? I can't remember. Yeah, I think it's permit.
I
There you go.
fixed it.
There you go.
Apparently, it accidentally timed you out. I was trying to fix the thing, and I fixed the timing, I
Yeah,
think. Sorry about that.
yeah. Yeah, you can check the link in now if you want. I mean, I have no idea whether we'd be able to get you to X amount of subs on YouTube, but like, we'll definitely take a look at the, at the short. It's all good.
Naturally, I got to watch it before I air it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. You definitely sure.
let me get to the start of it. All right, let's throw up the screen share here. Here's the right.
Yeah.
Here we go. It's not very loud though. There we go. It's got a good beat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I can
So yeah.
I can always you know, appreciate a good 404 bass.
Mhm. So yeah, go check out you know, go check out the
Check
link,
it.
guys. So,
Nice.
with that, as we kind of like wrap up this show for the day, like, I do want to say, well, one, thank you for the crazy amount of bits. Like, uh,
Yeah. Very much
as
appreciated,
as we've
guys.
as we've said before, like we do spend almost all of the money on back into the show, and we've got a lot of stuff that we're going to be working on. Hey, thank you for the gifted subs too. It's much appreciated.
Mm. Cheers, buddy.
Um, uh,
Ah,
we got ourselves a good time. We got a great community. We love chatting with you guys. If you want to chat with us on Discord, feel free, join the Discord. It's a great time. uh Obviously we talk games. We're starting to talk devices, Star Citizen, New World, Lost Ark, gaming in general. uh and we're
yeah,
gonna start we're
we had
gonna
a
start seeing
fairly
some more stuff soon for the show, and some more advancements as we get through some of the background work. Obviously, like, scene transitions and a new intro video are in the works. um so
pretty cool.
yeah, we're happy to have you guys here, and again, thank you guys for another awesome week. This has been the New World Order show. Until next time, we will see you in the New World.